Okay, the following podcast was absolutely awesome. I sat down with Rabbi Shais Taub. And before I tell you about that, I just want to tell you that the surroundings are a little different because I'm in the Theorist podcast studios, or the Theorist studios. So check them out. They're awesome. But I sat down with Rabbi Shais Taub, and we had the most heartfelt, awesome conversation about everything. I don't want to even tell you all the topics we talked about because it was not topics, it was ideas, and it was our heart, and it was awesome. And the truth is, I've never made an intro with my guest here. So I will. Would you like to say anything about the podcast that I'm throwing you on the
recorded here at
that we are ready
Studios in Manhattan on Broadway? What's the address? 1216 Broadway.
But
yeah.
Would you like to say, I've never done this before. I usually do it by myself.
Right.
But now that I got you, how would you introduce this podcast?
This is a real conversation. We let it flow. I do think we kept it on topic somewhat, and we came back. All loose ends, I believe, were tied up by the end. But there's a lot of... It's a journey.
Okay, so...
Yeah, and it's unfiltered. I think it was pretty unfiltered.
Very unfiltered.
Very unfiltered, yeah.
Both shared a lot of ourselves, which was awesome. Like, follow, subscribe. I'm going to leave a link to the fundraiser that's going on.
Yes, charity.com/RST.
Charity.com/RST. They are almost at their goal, so give very generously. Give so much that they raise the goal. I think it's kind of a wimpy goal, 600,000. I would make it $1 million.
Yeah.
But you guys got to show him that. Anyway, we love you all. Enjoy.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This is quite an honor.
It's an honor
I'm
for
very,
me.
very excited. I'm going to start with something that is awesome that we've been doing for years in my house.
Okay.
A little embarrassing. Maybe it's not embarrassing, but I happen to be very anti most Jewish magazines because they don't show women. I have like a whole issue with it. So we'll start. It'll be a whole different discussion, but that's not what it's about.
Okay.
So my wife said, I really like reading those magazines.
Okay.
Whether you have an issue with it or not. Because I'm like, I'm not buying it anymore. Done.
Right.
She said, I'd rather you buy me the magazines than flowers. Like, I would like reading the magazines.
Right.
Like, flowers are nice.
Right.
So now I get her the magazines and the flowers.
Okay.
Because I'm a good husband. But, so we get the magazine. There's only one thing that we like in the magazine, which has been, I don't know if you're doing it anymore.
No, I haven't done it in like almost a year now.
You haven't done it in just a year. We
can
know
talk
that.
about that, by the way.
Okay, so let's talk
Maybe
about
I'll
it.
use your podcast as my opportunity to
Please.
vent about that.
You'll
get a lot out of me, by the way, if you ask me why I don't write the column.
Okay, we'll get there in a second.
Yeah,
but let me tell you the funny part about this.
Okay.
So I can't. There's only two.
I thought the funny part was that you're banning the magazines because of women, and your wife, who is a woman, told you to get the magazine.
Yeah, that is the funny part.
Yeah.
She's like, all right. That's how she looks at a lot of my things I get excited about. So every single Shabbos until about a year ago, and once in a while it's in there again. I don't know how it gets in once in a while, but every single week is Shais Taub there, and then we go to the back.
Go check.
It goes to the back, and then you have to go back like 3 pages, right?
Right.
So we know exactly where it is. And this is our tradition in our family. It feels like 1950s, this tradition. We read the question.
Okay.
And then we stop. And then, this is everybody in the family. Like everybody. My 25-year-old.
Where do you do this?
At the shop, right after the Shabbos meal, Friday night, we go to the couch.
Okay. Right after the meal.
Usually, yeah.
Okay, and the family hangs out on the couch.
We're all hanging out on the couches.
Beautiful.
Which is awesome. Yeah, the Shabbos.
By the way, don't underestimate that. I mean, I'm sure you know, it's a rare thing, a family that after benching, they don't scatter off to their own corners of the home. So that's a beautiful thing. Okay.
Yeah, well, we do. Yeah, no. It's a rare thing, and I would love to talk more about that because I love it. I love that part, like having my kids home and doing all that. Anyway, we stop, and then we all guess what you're going to say.
You guess what I'm going to say?
What you're going to respond.
Or you come up with what you would say.
Well, sometimes we'll add what we want to say, but we really want to try to figure out what your answer is going to be on a basic.
Okay.
And we know that it always starts with validating.
You know the formula.
Always validating.
Okay.
We already
correct.
figured that one out.
Okay.
We cracked that code.
Okay.
And then we're usually wrong.
Okay.
But there's two things. We try to guess, and it's really fun because sometimes we do like outlandish ideas, and like sometimes you hit those outlandish ideas. And then once in a while we're like, I don't know how to say it in another word, but stuck. Like we go, ooh, like when you like nail it.
Oh, that's like
like a burn, like you just landed a good one.
All right.
So that's it. We read it. So I'm just telling you, you've been part of our lives for years.
Yeah.
In this Ami magazine. So whatever you think about the Ami magazine and writing in it, but what I will say on our side is that it is the most well thought out, intuitive type of answers, discussions. It's so broad. And our family is not very typical frum. So they have, my kids have very open minds. Mm-hmm. So for them, this is like a breath of fresh air. So I wanted to tell you that before we even started.
That's beautiful.
That is.
So first of all, just let me tell you, if you do want me to start ranting on why I don't write the column now, I can. But before I do that, or maybe even if I don't end up ranting about that, I do want to say that what you told me is I feel good about. I don't like the way that a lot of people use the column, which is part of why I got burnt out. Mm-hmm. I love the way you and your family are using it. Meaning, my whole intention was not to give people answers, because that's useless. Because I answered one guy in one situation, one thing, that doesn't mean that's the answer for other people, even if they have similar situations. The answers only have value in as much as I'm modeling a thought process. And then if you learn the thought process, then you could replicate the approach, but it's not about the answer, because the answer is different for everybody. So the fact that you read the question, close the magazine, and you think,
right?
You actually try to think. That's what I want. That's what I want people to do. I don't want them to just, what did Taub say? Who cares what I said? I'm modeling a thought process for you to then I'm very transparent about the methodology. By the way, that's also a thing. I'm getting a lot of nachas from this.
Okay, I'm so happy. That's how I wanted to start.
Okay, we're starting on a good foot. Okay. The fact that you cracked the code a little bit, maybe even more about the formula.
There's a little more. I could tell you a little more, but
but the fact that you picked up there is a formula.
Yeah.
It's a methodology. I don't care if people agree with my answer, if they even remember my answer, if they like my answer. I'm trying to model mahalach hamachshava. It's an approach.
Right.
So okay. Tell me more. Well, but before you tell me more about the methodology and the formula, why is validation the first thing?
Well, I mean, as a therapist,
okay.
I don't think you're getting anywhere until someone knows that you're there with them.
Right.
Like you got to be, in social work school, the big line was be where the client's at.
Right.
Until they're a drug addict, and then you try to change them immediately. Like don't be there at all. That's a little my own joke. But what I'm saying, it wasn't just the validating was we always loved that you would validate.
And by the way, sometimes it's challenging to validate.
Yeah.
The person's coming from such I don't want to say like a warped premise, but sometimes taka, it's really, they're coming, can I say taka? How from is the
I don't know.
Oilam here? Can you speak the yeshivish sprach?
You could.
Okay.
I think.
Indeed, that's always say taka.
Is that taka?
Yeah, indeed. So sometimes people are coming from a very warped premise, and it's very challenging. How are you going to validate this person? But like you said, I think you said you're not getting anywhere. That's
what I said.
You're not getting anywhere if you don't first share some space with them. Like you could have the greatest insight in the world. They can't hear it.
Right.
Right. So that's why validation is first.
It's the law of empathy. You got to be there with them. The sympathy is like, oh, I see you down there.
Right.
And I'll pull you up. But this is where we get it. So I love that part. I also love that you will never answer something that's not in the letter. You're not guessing so much. I know when I'm reading it that you have a lot of other thoughts and maybe what the other party said or what the other
So much
party's
I hold
thinking.
back.
And you're like, but it's not in the letter.
Right.
So if it's
Right.
not in the letter, it's not getting
canon.
an answer. It's not canon.
So it's a nice, theory, but I leave it out. Yeah. Now, sometimes I'll share something that's a little bit of a leap, but it has to be a direct leap from the letter itself. It can't be 2 leaps. It can't, for sure not 3 leaps, even though maybe in my head I'm extrapolating and I have some theories.
Right.
But yeah, there's a certain...
And then the other thing is that you are always empowering them to make the change, even if they're complaining about someone else.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Let's talk.
Okay. Why does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Why does it make sense?
Yeah, why would I do that?
Because you can't change another person.
Because it's pointless. And when somebody comes to you and their problem is somebody else, like, I got 2 choices for you. Either we can just stop talking because there's no point, or if you want to continue talking, the only thing that there's any point talking about is what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to talk about what the other guy's going to do. I told you when we were prepping this and you invited me on, I said, the one subject I don't want to talk about is addiction.
Right.
And you said, you're going to respect it. We're not going to talk about addiction. So I'm going to make an exception right now.
Okay.
But I'm breaking the rule.
All right.
I get a lot of calls from people about addiction, which I don't like. This is one of the reasons I didn't want to talk about it, because I was afraid if I would come on the podcast and talk about addiction, it would make more people call me about addiction, which I want less. I want no people to call me about addiction.
We'll put a disclaimer.
I wrote a book,
Right.
God of Our Understanding.
Fantastic.
I love the book.
I will not even
I'm very
bring it
proud
up.
of it. No, that's the one thing. I wrote a book that I'm very proud of. That's my contribution to the world of recovery. I feel like that's what I did. Like, that's what I did. Okay. But I'll get a lot of calls about addiction. Usually friends, family, spouses of an addict.
Right.
How productive is this conversation going to be? Like, I got to get my wife to stop, my husband to stop, my father, my daughter, my son, my friend, they're not calling me. What do you want me to do? They're not calling. I sound like I'm you take advantage of this opportunity.
But there is something they could do.
To vent a little bit. Well, there is some. Yes.
They don't like what they have to do.
That's right.
Well,
That's right. So how many times have I had this conversation where I'll say to them, and I almost got it down to like, an elevator speech, like memorized, because I've had this conversation so many times, where I'll say to them, listen, I have a question for you. If there were some actions you could take right now where you could get your life back, you could get off the roller coaster of insanity and regain some serenity in your life right now, regardless of whether or not the person you're calling about right now changes, would you be interested in that? What do 90% of the people say?
no.
No.
No, I want them to change.
Right. I need them to change. That's the only option. No. And even if you'll say it, you'll spell it out. So basically, I give you 2 options. I told you could have sanity, regardless of what this person does, or let me spell out the other option. You can choose to continue on the roller coaster of insanity. That's what you're saying. Yeah, I'll continue on the roller coaster of insanity. 90%.
Yeah.
I mean, is that your...
No, it's been my experience the same thing, because there is a lot we could do for people who don't want to change. There's a lot. I mean, we're parents. Very often, kids do not want to change, and there's still stuff we could do. We don't just be like, okay, bye. We don't know you anymore. We don't have anything to do with you. There's a ton we could do. I call them like, we could keep, like the idea of we could bring them to the water and then they could drink. That's a that's a great idiom. What did he say?
Yeah, an idiom, yeah.
It's an idiom. It's a great idiom. Idiom's a great word.
Right.
Sorry, I told you about my brain doing that thing.
Free association.
Free association is good. But it's an idiom, it's cliche because it's true, bringing a horse to water. The problem is like, well, I brought you.
You can bring a horse to a verbrengen.
You could bring a horse to a verbrengen, probably the same thing.
You heard this?
No.
Oh, you don't know this? Is the big song, Greenspan song. You can bring a horse to a verbrengen. You can even make him drink, clink, clink. Okay, go. Ask your kids.
Greenspan has it? Okay.
Yeah. The Yum Yum song.
I'm a big fan of Greenspan.
Oh, you are?
I am, but I'm not up to date.
I spoke to Greenspan, the real Greenspan, in real life, and I was so starstruck. I was like, you are my hero. You are my hero, Greenspan. His real name's not Greenspan, but I'm going to respect that that's his stage name. And I said, you are my hero. Because, by the way, the free association, don't worry. If we get lost, I have the breadcrumb trail. I won't let us get too lost. But getting back to when I was saying the frustration of writing the column or the frustration of people calling with questions about addiction when, by the way, do you know I'm not an addiction counselor. I'm not a mental health professional of any kind. I have zero credentials. I wrote a great book, Baruch Hashem, about the spiritual aspect of recovery, which I'm very proud of, but I don't have any of the credentials that many people think that I have.
Do you know that I named that move, what you say? When you say that, I'm not a professional.
What is it called?
I named it your Joe Rogan move. If you ever watch Joe Rogan, he's always like, I don't know anything, but here's this. And you're like, you care. Right. It's Rabbi Shais Taub's Joe Rogan move. Right. He's like, I'm not. But I know more about mental health than all you guys. Okay, go on.
But I'm glad that you noticed that, by the way, because people will come up to me and be like, you're a therapist? No, but I read your column every week. Oh, really? You read my column every week? Did you notice that hundreds of times I'll make this big disclaimer? I am not a mental health. No, I never noticed that. No. Thank God. Okay, so you noticed that. That's one of my moves. It's called the Joe Rogan move in your household. Okay, do your kid? If I would ask your kids, would they know that it's called that?
I think so.
I think so. That's very cool. Okay, why do I love Greenspan? Because it's my secret fantasy. It's going to disillusion so many people. Nobody listens to this, right?
Not
you don't have an audience.
Okay, 6 or 7.
Okay, it's my dark fantasy to when I'm feeling burnt out and just overburdened, compassion fatigue. We got to talk about compassion fatigue. I want your help with my compassion fatigue. My dark fantasy is like I get a vicarious thrill listening to Greenspan being dismissive. Now, he's not really being dismissive of real people, so no one's really getting hurt. So it's like it's just fantasy. It's just play. But yeah, that's why I love Greenspan. Why do you love Greenspan?
Well, I mean, it's why I love all comedy, because comedy gets to point things out that are so ludicrous, but we don't consider them ludicrous until it's said, this is ludicrous. Like when a Rebbe says, what you say, you say, smack him in the face. And you're like, that's what the Rabbeim are doing.
Yes.
But we're like accepting it until Greenspan says, and then everybody, even the tough love group, they laugh at the Greenspan thing. They're like, oh, that is ridiculous.
Because he holds up the caricature of it, and they realize how silly it is.
Right.
Which is
even Stephen Colbert used to do that. He used to act like a Republican to make fun of the Republicans.
Right. This is satire. Is you take a position and you exaggerate it, or
it's fantastic. So I mean, that's why I mean, in general, I have a lot of comedians on my podcast because I think they're the ones to shine the light on all the issues in the world.
Right, and get away with it.
Yeah, and they present it to you in this delectable way. It's like, that's delicious. I laughed. And you're laughing at yourself. You're laughing about the stuff you've accepted, your society. So that's why I love Greenspan.
Okay.
I don't know how we got on Greenspan.
I know how we got into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can bring a horse to a Fabrengen, and I told you it's a Greenspan song.
Oh, it's a Greenspan song.
So you were saying there are a lot of things we can do for people who are not ready to change.
Yes.
Other than try to change them.
Right.
I agree with that. As long as we're transparent about the fact we are not trying to change, and it's not a ploy. We're literally not trying to change him.
Right. But I will say, and not but, yes. And
first rule of improv.
Exactly. Yes, and I will say, I just had an improv guy on. It was great. He told me some good stuff. But anyway, and we all know, with all that, we know that one of the greatest things you could do for someone who's struggling is to surround them with an enormous amount of support.
Yeah.
But we know that.
Yeah.
So most of what we could be for that person is an enormous amount of support. That doesn't mean we're going to be their shmata. It doesn't mean that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But to surround, like to me, they don't want to drink the water. It doesn't mean you stop bringing the water. So it's like the water just keeps coming. So a lot of people, especially in the addiction industry, I'm not talking about addiction, but I'm saying in the addiction industry, it's like, you don't want to get change? Arois. Like, I'm done with you. And first of all, that's not what the founders of helping or in any system says. It's like, you need help. I know therapists say you need to want to get better to change. That's true, but there's a lot of pre-stuff that you could do, and that could be the job of the person. So the person calling, you say, okay, now you need to give a tremendous amount of support to this person, and then eventually, because the ultimate core of all this is that they feel empty, unworthy, unlovable. Now, we can't really change that, but the original way they got the thought, that we get a thought that we're lovable, is from other people,
right?
Not from God.
Right.
I mean, we are the mushal to God. And
right.
We come down and we say, hey, you're lovable, you love me, and they, oh, maybe I am worthy.
Yeah.
So my whole approach to this is that we could reenact that original parenting of, we just love you because. There's nothing, there's no other reason. We love you because we, even the more you act out, I'll tell you an interesting thing. We run the sober homes. The interesting thing is that I tell all my staff, there's two things happening. One thing, it's a tank that's draining. There's two things happening. One is you gotta put a patch to stop the leaks, which come from trauma or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the other one is to refill it. But the leaks only get patched when they test you and do the worst things to you. And you just go, oh, I still love you. Mm-hmm. That's the patch. And then when you do things unexpected, you just come out of nowhere. Here's a cake, here's a this. And then,
Chesed chinam.
Right, chesed chinam, that's how you fill it. Yeah. But you could fill as much as you want with being nice, but if you don't pass their tests, you're just being nice and it's leaking out. So that's the two things that we do. So I don't know, I got off on that because the idea is that every person who calls, and that's what I love about
that's
your
where
column,
we started, right.
Everybody who reaches out, there's something for them to do. It's probably not what they want to do. They probably want their environment to change.
Okay.
They want
so
them to.
let's unpack this slowly for people who are trying to track this conversation. We were describing a scenario. Somebody calls me, and I'm feeling like, what do you want from me? You know, Joe Rogan.
Right.
I know nothing about this. Right. And they're saying my loved one is out of control, a child, a spouse, a parent. And I'm saying to them, listen, this is an insane situation. Absolutely. Would you like to get your life back? Would you like to get some serenity? And they're like, no, I'm hell-bent and I must change this person. Okay. In which case we're at an impasse because you have free choice over your own behavior. You don't have free choice over someone else's behavior. And what you pointed out was, well, there is still stuff you could do. You can, we called it chesed chinam. You could provide love, and it's actually very helpful. But, and I made the point of like, let's be very transparent and very clear about this. Don't conflate that with trying to change them. And here's why I want to go slow, because I want everyone to track this. We are so used, I'm saying we, collectively, I include myself, we are so used to using kindness manipulatively, we forget that there actually can be chesed chinam, gratuitous kindness. What is gratuitous kindness? Gratuitous kindness means not only it's unearned, but it's without an agenda. Meaning to say, I'm not expecting a particular result from this. I'm doing this, like you said, because. Now, that's very supportive. I agree with you. The problem is very few people are going to be able to maintain the incredible spiritual strength that it requires to continue pumping love into somebody without doing it manipulatively, without having an unspoken agenda. That's why we get back to what I was saying before. When people call up and they're saying my loved one is out of control, my loved one is an addict, and I say to them, what work are you ready to do? Meaning to say, between you and me, I don't know how you feel about this, but I know that if their loved one really is an addict, which I'll never say they are or they aren't, but if they really are an addict, I know the only solution is a spiritual awakening.
Right.
And by the same token, I know that this person who, you can use the word codependent, you can use whatever word you want, but the person who's in the orbit of that addict, their only way out of this insanity is their own spiritual awakening. Because it's the spiritual awakening that is necessary to be able to have the superhuman power to continue pumping love into somebody without the expectation that they owe you anything for it. So we come
It's
back.
about as godly as you get.
That's a lachta bedrochav. You're literally acting mahu rachum. You're acting compassionate in Hashem's ways of compassion. But here's the thing. To me, the spiritual awakening part of like call it the recovery from codependency, that's unavoidable. You can't take that piece out because you could tell them, pump them full of love. But if they're still addicted to the addict, that's like telling an addict, you'll be able to use like a gentleman. You can use casually, occasional, you'll take a little, you'll stop, which we know is absurd. The same thing as telling someone who is addicted to the addict, who's using the bid for power and control called manipulative love, to tell them, no, just love them, but don't do it manipulatively. They can't. Right. They can't until they have a spiritual awakening, and then they can give the way Hashem gives.
I consider it on the level of codependency. I consider on the level of sex addiction and food addiction, where you have to continue doing it. You can't I always say drug addicts, and they could forgive me, are the luckiest of all of them. You never have to
just cut it out of your life, right? Just never do it again.
You just don't do that,
right?
Although underneath it's all codependency. But what I'm saying is
correct. Yes, agreed. I know nothing about this topic, but agreed.
Yeah. You Joe Rogan me. I love it. Anyway, by the way, I'm waiting my whole life for you to Joe Rogan me.
Really?
I didn't know it until that moment. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
In retrospect,
that should have been my goal.
Waiting for it. Yeah. Okay.
No, what I'm saying is that certain process addictions, you can't stop. I now need to know how to eat food.
Right.
Healthy.
Correct. It's not, but here's the thing. It's not the what, it's the how. So when you're talking about something like drugs and alcohol, you can reduce it to the what because you can just eliminate that what from your life. Things you can't avoid, like you got to continue eating, right? Or relationships, being a codependent, you got to continue having a relationship with people. You can't cut the what out. You have to change the how. So the how, if you want to really make it simple, is to do it l'shem shemayim. Which sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing. And that's why it necessitates a spiritual awakening in order to be able to do it.
I have a trick for codependence.
Life hack.
Life hack.
Okay.
It's kind of the basis of like almost all the work I do.
You're going to give this away for free?
For free.
Okay.
It'll be in the book.
Okay.
The trick is the only way to truly be able to give to an addict.
Okay.
Meaning in a healthy way.
In a healthy way, correct, yeah.
Is to view them as a baby. It's the
That's
only
the trick.
way. That's the trick.
Yeah, pretend it's a baby.
It's a baby.
Right.
And every time you slip off of they're a baby, because emotionally, that's what they're at right now. Mm-hmm. Like their coping mechanisms are on baby level. Mm-hmm. Every time you go into, but it's an adult. Like it's cute when a baby poo-poos in the diaper. Right. It's not cute when a 50-year-old man does that. Right. When he's the father of your kids. Right. I mean, it's just not cute. Right. But every time you leave, every time you think, maybe he grew up now, maybe he's different. Right. That's where they explode. It means the only way you could do it is we have to recognize that right now, for whatever reasons, that's a whole nother discussion, this person is stuck at baby stage. Right. And if you're able to stay there, suspend your disbelief and
then
realize
you can continue giving to them without getting sucked into the drama.
Because I don't expect a baby to get a job and change his life, and I don't expect anything.
So you've disarmed them of all expectations. Like these expectations are premeditated resentments.
Gone.
So if I see them as a baby, I'm not going to get disappointed. Right. There can't be any agenda. It can't be like, I changed that baby's diaper and he didn't even say thanks. Right. Nobody's thinking that, right?
Yeah.
No normal person, at least.
But if you,
it's a great life hack.
Yeah, we have a different. I don't know if I want to expose this, but in the sober living with the staff, so we have something called when someone does something so insanely crazy Like, and they do. It's like the level of testing is tremendous.
Okay.
So we say FDA, which stands for effing drug addict. I'm not gonna say the word, but they say it's like, remember what you're dealing with. It's like he's not here. Yeah. It's our mantra.
Right.
Like, and by the way, that wasn't like planned. One of my colleagues at work saw me doing it.
Oh.
Me, I was just doing it in my head.
Like you named some of my moves.
Right. He named my move, and because I was saying the real words, in my head, and he was like, "What are you whispering to yourself?"
He said, "That's the name of a move."
Like, that's a move. Go for that. Okay. So then, I'm gonna get off of. I don't know how we got onto addiction. I think addiction all day. I don't know how.
Because I was talking about compassion fatigue, and I was giving you an example. One of the things giving the most compassion fatigue is when people call about a loved one who's an addict, and then we got in this whole, I think, very important discussion, by the way, of the only way for the loved ones of the addict to really help the addict is to stop trying to change them and to connect to real chesed chinam, Hashem's gratuitous kindness, which will, by necessity, require a spiritual awakening. So, and which I think that's a very important point. By the way, before we close the book on any addiction talk, one more thing I think needs to be clarified because it confuses so many people, and that is classic question. I mean, this is very inside baseball, so unless you're part of a certain world, you never had this question. But if you are part of a certain world, it's a very common question, which is like this: how do you reconcile these two approaches? The gratuitous love, treat them like a baby, expect nothing, just pour the love, pump them full of love, and understand that the love itself is medicine, especially parental love. Okay. In fact, let's focus on parents. Let's say specifically, parental love is medicine. Okay, that approach, and then let's call it an Al-Anon approach. I'm not going to be your enabler. Classic question, right?
Yeah.
How do you reconcile those two approaches? They're seemingly opposite approaches. One is love, 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 love. The other one is, I don't know, don't call me if you're in jail.
Okay. I want to hear the answer because I'm already fired up now.
Well, have
You've asked. Yeah. I just hate the word enabler. Just hate that word so much. I wish they would cut it out.
Well, it's been weaponized.
It's been weaponized. I just tell you, I actually just had Avi Fishoff on, and he's like the opposite of enabler. He's like the other side. But I told him that a long time ago, I got really angry.
You're saying he's the opposite of the crowd that uses the word enabler.
Right. He's like
to tell parents to basically
put up boundaries and
cut
off the flow. Cut
off the flow. Right, exactly. And obviously the exact opposite approach, which is open the flow, double down on it.
Yeah. I'm much closer to that camp. So no, what I was saying to him is that I was getting a lot of flack for the work I was doing in our place, which is teens.
They're going which direction? Too much love?
They were saying, too much love. I'm enabling. You're an enabler. So I kept. This is one of my favorite things is that I didn't know because my policy is I don't fight back. We don't fight back. Our whole organization, you could say whatever you want.
Right.
We just keep helping. That's what we're doing.
Right.
You do your thing. It's been frustrating because I get angry. So it's like, I didn't do it, but I changed our letterhead secretly and nobody even knew it because it just goes out in the emails. Right. I changed the letterhead to our place, enabling resilience. I just snuck it in. And no one knew for years. I don't even know if it's still there. It might even still be. I think we've gotten a new one since a good marketing team has changed it. But I snuck it in. So anyway, you're answering that question. How do you?
I didn't answer yet. I asked it.
Well, I want you to answer it because I have no good answer.
Okay, I have an answer.
Okay.
It's not the only answer. It may not even be my answer tomorrow, but it's my answer today, and it's been my answer for quite some time, for years. I spent a lot of time in this sugya.
Yeah.
And here's what became clear to me, because it is a kasha, or it seems like a good kasha. The answer, by the way, we already said it. I could literally take snippets of conversation that we've had so far and just edit it, and I could answer this question already because we've already said it.
Right.
But I'll prompt you to say it. What's sick about the way that the person who's addicted to the addict is using love? What's sick about it that makes it create more drama and more chaos?
Because of the expectations? I mean, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, I would say because you're expecting, you're using that person to fill your own tank. That's what's sick about it.
If you're using that person to fill your own tank, I might even question if it's legitimately love. I mean, ahava, loshen hav is giving. You're saying it's actually a sneaky way of taking.
It's that's how I would define codependency.
Do you know that will infuriate most people who are in the throes of full-blown codependency? Because in their mind, they are doing they're martyrs. They're doing everything. And then you're going to tell them, you think you're so selfless? This is the ultimate selfishness. By the way, you don't say that because I
just say it on podcasts. For them, I did not say that.
But the reality is like this. If I'm using, I'll tell you a vort. Want to hear a vort? Okay. There's a term, chesed shel emes. What is chesed shel emes?
I mean, like the act. I mean, doing
when
it
you
with
hear the
no
expression,
expectations. No one even
chesed shel
sees
emes,
it.
specifically,
Burying.
the term burial.
Right.
Burial. Okay. And specifically, mas mitzvah. If so, there's a dead body that no one's taking care of. It's called chesed shel emes, and it comes from the story in Parshas Vayechi when Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef, he says, "Do for me chesed ve'emes." Rashi says, "Chesed shel emes." Chesed ima mesim. When you do kindness for the mesim for dead people, that's called chesed shel emes. True chesed. Okay. So, what's the classic explanation? The classic explanation is because when you do kindness for a dead person, they can't pay you back.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So that's why it's true kindness, because there's no ulterior motive because they can't pay you back. Okay. I can poke a hole in that right away. I mean, not to poke holes, but
I'm very excited.
Okay.
Because that's what I think.
Right. Well, that's what everyone thinks.
Okay.
No expectation of reward. Get out of here. You don't believe in God? You don't think God is going to pay you back for that? To the contrary, this is one of the biggies, right? So I'm going to deal with a dead body and bury the dead body. Chesed shel emes is so selfless. The dead body can't pay me back. Yeah, no kidding, he can't pay you back. But you don't think that's going to go in your bank account in Elam Haba? So then how is it chesed shel emes? Okay. Good question. So the vort is like this. I don't even know the mucker for this. I might have made it up, by the way. It's possible.
Those are my favorite.
Disclaimer, I could have made it up. I don't think I made it up. I think I heard it somewhere. When you're dealing with a living person, you're always wondering, am I helping or am I hurting? The one time you have absolute clarity, I know what this person needs. See a dead body? I know what he needs. He needs burial. You can't get it wrong. I know what he needs. I know what he needs. So the thorniness of it, the confusion of just how do you get clarity? What do you need? What am I? Even if I want to give in a healthy way, even if I want to give in an altruistic way, but what does that even look like? How do I do it? So the answer is, it's not a what, it's a how. There's not a certain what. If you give this thing, then it's healthy. If you give that thing, oh no, then you're enabling. It's not a what, it's a how. How you give it. If you give it because it's a chess move, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? The codependent who, I'm going to bail you out, but then you're going to, it's not menschlichkeit, you're going to owe me, you're going to have to act sane for at least a month if I bail you out, right?
Yeah.
It's an unspoken barter, right? And then, of course, the person doesn't act sane, not even for a month. They don't act sane for an hour.
They never do.
Betrayal, right? Resentment. And
no trust. Sorry.
And then the drama. And then the chaos, right? And then, okay. So how do you get off that roller coaster? Not the what, it's the how. You can do any what. With the Mace Mitzvah, there's only one what, bury him. But there's somebody who is maybe spiritually currently in a state of Misa, Rahman al-Islam. So then it's not about the what, it's about the how. And I will go as far as to say this. Anything that you do that is, any what, if you do it truly selflessly, mahu rachum, just like Hashem is compassionate, so you be compassionate, then it can't hurt, and it'll probably help. But if you do it, anything, you do it with an agenda, you're going to ratchet up more of the insanity. So now, you're following. Okay. So now let's take it back to the whole question. Al-Anon says, don't be an enabler. Tough love. I want to tell you something. Tough love is the easy way of not being an enabler. That's the non-surgical way.
Right.
That's if you don't have the skills yet and you just want to err on the side of caution, okay, the safest thing is I'm cutting you off. Because if I cut you off, then I can't give to you in a toxic, manipulative way. Which is true, by the way.
It is true.
And there are some people who are so addicted to the addict, they can't, presently cannot stop giving in a manipulative way. In those cases, very often, it is better if they cut the addict off. And I think they're the rare cases where somebody actually is cut off by their family and it's actually good for them. It was that kind of situation.
Right.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
So once in a while we get a kid and we're just like, I'm like, if this kid is still in this house, I don't know.
Right.
They got to go.
Exactly.
They got to go.
Okay.
Not kick them out.
Right.
They have to find the program or something.
Okay. So when you don't know how to give altruistically, l'shem shamayim, so err on the side of caution and just, okay, so I won't give. I'll give you nothing. I'll cut you off. Okay, well, that's one way to avoid being a manipulator is just to have zero relationship. It'll do the job, right? It's like swatting a fly with a shotgun, right?
A lot of people do this with drugs and alcohol. I mean, they don't work on themselves. It's just like, I can't have a healthy relationship with drugs and alcohol, so I'll just cut it out and then think I'm all right. We call it white knuckling because they haven't fixed the problem.
So that's interesting what you're saying. This form of tough love is the codependence version of white knuckling. Because they still want to manipulate. They wish desperately they could control this person. They're so exhausted that, okay, I can't do it. I can't manipulate. You know, it's just insanity. I cannot manipulate you. Get out of my life. You can't be manipulated. It won't even work. All my manipulation skills are not working. It's too exhausting. Get out of my life, right? Whereas somebody who actually has had a spiritual awakening in a program like Al-Anon, who's actually recovered, we can get into recovered maybe another time.
That one I'll skip.
Okay, we'll skip. But someone who's actually recovered from their codependency, who actually is able to do the chesed chinam, the true gratuitous kindness with no expectation of anything, that person can safely give love, and it doesn't ratchet up the insanity, and it's not enabling. The enabling is the toxic giving, which is a covert form of manipulation. But if you can give truly with no expectation to just say, you know what? I'm going to give everything to this person and they may never get sober. And they don't owe me getting sober just because of what I've given them. Just like the baby owes me nothing for changing the baby's diaper.
Right.
Then go ahead and give because now you're giving healthy. And you may even help. Usually they do help by giving in that way. So that's how I resolve that whole thing, how I reconcile the whole kasha. You know, is it the Al-Anon approach of tough love, or is it pumping them full of love? And the answer is, if you really, really recover in a program like Al-Anon and come to that spiritual awakening where you're truly just practicing these principles in all of our affairs, like the 12 step says, and you're just being kind just because that's the godly thing to do, and you're not getting offended when your kindness doesn't get you anything, then you can give that kind of kindness even to someone who's in active addiction, and not only will you not make them sicker, you may even make them healthier.
Right.
But it's how you give. It's how you give.
I completely
And you
agree
mentioned
with this.
Avi. That's why Avi like disabuses of the whole notion of you're trying to make them frum. Now, the reality is he has hundreds of kids that did become frum.
Right.
But he has to convince the parents, you're not trying to make them frum. Right? You're not, nothing. You're just giving. You're just giving.
Right. It's very complicated because everybody has in the back of the head, if I do this, they're going to get better. Like it's any type of healing, if it's about someone else growing, it's wrong. It's just not going to work the way you want it to work. So it's just about this. I mean, listen, I'm preaching this a lot, but in my own life, raising my kids and stuff like that, there's all these expectations that creep up that you didn't even see coming. And you're like, oh, I wish my kids were this and that. And they're creeping in there.
Yeah.
and then at a certain point, you have to just stop. You're like, my job as a parent is just to be giving. Like there's nothing else in here. Now, if I get to have a Friday night where we sit around and read Rabbi Shais Taub,
it's a gift. Yeah.
it's like my little nuggets.
Right.
But if
nobody owes you that.
No, they don't owe it to me.
And if next Friday nobody wants to come hang out with the family in the living room.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it happens. And I'm like, hey, where's my I paid for all the tuitions. Let's go.
By the way, you say comedians are able to hold up a mirror, but like maybe you should make a whole comedy routine about this, about the entitled father who literally does feel that way. And I have a lot of compassion for him.
Oh, yeah.
He's busting his behind all day, all week to pay for that tuition. You have to be a gvir to raise a frum family on the East Coast and just to get by. And at the end of the day, it's like, could I expect a little nachas? Right? Well, is it so outrageous to expect a little nachas? And the reality is, my dear friend, I completely sympathize, but that's a formula for disaster. That sense of entitlement is a formula for disaster.
Yeah, I actually saw a clip. I think you must have put it out recently. I saw a clip. I'm trying to remember exactly, but you were basically talking about parents giving to kids, and they have to recognize that it's about the giving, and that's their role. And I had a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this clip. You literally put it out within the last week or something.
It was probably about apologizing.
Maybe.
Because there's a side point. So someone said, should you apologize to your children?
Oh, yes.
I said, sure, but major caveat. And by the way, I don't know anything about recovery, but like, let's talk about amends for a second. Except, you make amends, except when to do so
hurts the other person.
Right. So what's an apology? An apology is for the offended party. But a lot of times people fall into the trap. The apology is for me, especially, don't get me started. Please don't get me started.
Everything you say, don't get me started about, I want to get you started about. No,
Pre-Yom Kippur Mechila frenzy.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
You need comedy routine on that one.
Oh, totally. So who's that for? Who's that for? Clearly, I'm scared to go into Yom Kippur until you give me Mechila. In fact, I'll even say, will you give me Mechila?
Right.
So I'm clearly not apologizing to you to give you anything. I'm apologizing to get something from you, right?
Right.
All right, which is toxic. So I said with parents, yeah, you can apologize to your child. I mean, first of all, if you did something wrong, you don't have to just apologize for the sake of it to be Yetzer. But if you did something wrong and you regret it, tell them, right? But I said, be very careful. Sometimes people apologize in a way where it's like, can you forgive me? Give me the forgiveness. And it's an inversion of the parent-child relationship, which is supposed to be, I'll use the term again, chesed chinam, that unilateral kindness, which is godlike, really is. The love of a parent to a child is godlike in the sense of unilateral kindness. And we could talk, well, what about kibbud avein? Remind me, come back. We'll come. What about, and you have
that's part of my
to say it in the voice. You have to do the voice. What about kibbud avein? Well, in that voice, okay. Because we'll come back to it, because I've thought about this. All right. But when you give the unilateral kindness in a godly way, okay, that's what a parent does. But if a parent apologizes to a kid, it's basically like, I feel guilty and I want you to forgive me so I can sleep at night, then you're taking from the kid. As opposed to what? You're apologizing to the kid because you realize, I hurt the kid. And I'm their primary source of emotional security. And when I offend them, it's not just a stranger offending them. A parent does something to a child to hurt their feelings that in a very basic way disrupts their feeling of security in life. And so I, as a parent, will come to apologize to a child to give the child peace of mind, right? So when you apologize to a child, don't do it to get peace of mind, do it to give peace of mind.
Right.
That's what I said in that reel.
Yeah. So that was, and I thought it was an awesome reel.
Okay, thank you.
I'm validating. No, I'm
Thank
kidding.
you.
And then my thought was, it led a thought. I don't know if it's a question, but it's a thought was, is there any way to look at any relationship not as giving? Meaning, as myself, from looking at it as a first person narrative, like it's me, could I look at any relationship as a taking relationship?
You're saying, I understand as a parent.
Yeah, parent seems obvious.
For sure. Well, by the way.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not
obvious to me.
And probably that's through hard work.
Yeah.
And life lessons and a lot of self-awareness.
Right.
Okay, but obviously.
But I have a relationship with my wife, and I know every time I'm in the taking mode, it starts
Never
to
gonna be
break
good.
down.
Right, never going to be
And
good.
I'm in a relationship with my siblings, and every time I'm in the taking mode,
Right.
it's like every relationship I look at from my own perspective. Is that true about all relationships, even from a child? Not the obnoxious, well, what about keeping of aim?
Yeah, it was actually, what about keeping over?
Sorry. All right.
Two different guys now.
Two different guys. But
Because it's two different answers,
to the two different guys?
depending on the tone of voice.
I want you to explain that.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But you asked a great question. Like, I understand as a parent, my whole job is to be a giver. Okay, are there any relationships where I get to be a taker? I'll tell you another word. We know that Hashem makes us work. Everything has to be earned because it shouldn't be nama dichsufa, which is Aramaic for bread of shame. A free handout. Bread of shame. Person feels embarrassed to be a recipient of a welfare. So that's why Hashem makes us work. That's why life is hard. That's why there are challenges. So everything should be earned, because if it weren't earned, we would be embarrassed. It would be bread of shame.
Right.
Great answer to a philosophical question, which begs another philosophical question, which is, oh yeah, why did Hashem make that our nature? You're saying Hashem made life hard so that because it's our nature, we would feel embarrassed if we didn't have to work.
Right.
Okay, so let me just dig one layer deeper and say, well, why did Hashem make that our nature? He could have made it our nature that we have no problem with bread of shame. It wouldn't be bread of shame. It would be bread. We just enjoy it.
I would go further with that. I don't think it's God's nature. He created a new nature to be like that.
You're saying it's not even something that existed before.
Yeah, it's
He
brand
had to make it up. He had to invent it.
Right. It's not like he was passing on his nature to another. It's not his nature.
Right.
He doesn't need that at all. I'm just adding to your awesome
You're
question.
Magdil the Shaila, building the question. It's a great question. Questions. We savor good questions. Okay, so I'll tell you an answer. I saw this in a Sikha, Likutei Sichos from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The reality is it has nothing to do with bread of shame, or that's not the point. That's a symptom. The point is Hashem created us to be like him. He is a giver, a maker, a producer, a creator. So he created us to be the same way. And therefore, as a, maybe call it a secondary or a
Consequence.
consequence of that nature, since we're built to be givers, of course it feels funny to be a recipient, of something you didn't earn. Because we were built to create, because we're supposed to be godlike.
Right.
Just like he's a creator, he made us to be creators.
Since I'm a codependent, I just want to say that I don't even feel comfortable taking, even if I did deserve it. I'm just adding to that.
I don't know if I can help you. That's a deep level.
Can I tell you about my codependent doll before we go on?
The doll is codependent?
The doll, I'm creating a doll. That's a codependent doll.
Okay.
It's a doll, you throw it against the wall, and it says, "I'm sorry."
Is that like a joke?
I made it up, but no one made it. I'm waiting for someone to make it. I'm not a doll.
Like a talking doll.
Yeah, it's one thing.
Right, it was one thing.
You just throw it against the wall,
And it says, I'm sorry. That's Givaldic.
Yeah, I know. But no one makes my ideas. They just let it
That's
sit.
Givaldic. You say, what's the last thing a codependent sees before he dies? Somebody else's life flashes before his eyes.
So true. Oh my gosh. This is my biggest issue, so I'm with you.
They say the addict and the codependent are driving in a car, well, a husband and wife, and one's an addict, one's a codependent. They get into a fight and they're yelling at each other and they get distracted. And all of a sudden, a car comes by, almost T-bones them, stops like a centimeter away. And the codependent reaches out and says to the addict, "Oh my God, am I okay?"
I like it. All right. People are in the sugya. They'll understand. They'll get it. Sorry. Oh, wait. Did you finish that idea? And I think I cut you off in the middle of something. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
I cut you off in the middle. I didn't. Okay.
No, we
So
closed the loop.
So then, we close the loop. So then I get to say, and I get to present a new idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And remember, we still have to get back to the two, what about Chabad Ohel?
I don't think we had. Oh, that was the idea I stopped you from.
Oh, that's what you're saying? You stopped me from?
No. Is
I
there
thought that was-
a relationship where we're not a giver? And I
Right,
think
and
you answered it.
I said we were built to be givers.
No, the keep it up
We're always
thing
givers.
is, I don't
It's
know.
a separate thing. You don't want to go there?
I mean, it's too raw. My mother just died.
My father passed away this year.
If you want to go there. This is a very tough topic for me.
You saying Kaddish?
I said, gosh, I'm done.
Oh, you finished?
I just did. I just went to Israel for the yard
I
site
was
this
saying
weekend.
Kaddish until Cheshvan.
Yeah, it's not easy.
How's it feel to be free?
Free? No more davening? Fantastic.
They say 7 days of house arrest, 11 months of community service.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something very cool. It was a long time ago. I was trying to break down for people like the method to healing an addict.
Yeah.
And the best way I was able to describe, my question was like, where in Judaism is this really discussed? Like, person is really suffering with addiction, and we're supposed to help them. And
Right.
how do you do it? And the only place I could find it was Shiva, which is the idea is that an addict there's so much trauma, there's so much stuff there that they don't feel worthy to a point. When you lose a loved one, there's nothing left to you. It's like your worthiness was attached to the loved one in a way that you literally feel like, why am I here? It's like you're almost suicidal. You're like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like without that person, I don't know if I want to be. And then what we do is we say, sit down on a low chair. You can't do anything. You can't work. Can't even do certain mitzvahs. And you know what? It's on us. We're going to surround you and fill you up so much. The community is responsible for your healing right now. You don't have it. You don't say to a guy 2 days after the parent died, get up and go to work.
Right.
Like the way I have with all the sober livings I deal with, like, get up, go to work.
Right.
I'm like, if you're broken to the point where you have given away your entire life, it's our responsibility to hold you. So it's like the Shiva model. That's what I call the model, is that it's the community is now responsible for the people who are the most broken. We got to hold you until you have the strength to walk again, which is the 11 months and then the year. And then I think you could probably do it the whole way.
I love that as emotional. And at the same time, I don't know if there's a contradiction or you'll say, no, it goes perfectly with what you're saying, is that at a certain point when the shiva's over, they order you to get up. You got to get up.
Let's go.
Yeah, like there's a time and then it's, let's go.
But I would say together. Meaning the whole community gets up and we walk around the block with you. And we're going to take you back into the world. It goes, the whole marshal continues. And I will tell you, going through it, I went through Shiva for the first time. I don't know if this is your first time, but I hated every second of it. I really did not enjoy, which is the other thing I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, because I will get to it in a second, but I really didn't enjoy, like, everybody, could you leave me alone?
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone.
Totally.
That is the idea of an addict. Like, stop trying to
I
fill
need to
me.
isolate.
I want to be in my room, like, under the blankets,
Yes.
just isolate completely.
A friend of mine
like,
lost his mother a month ago, and he confided in me that he's really, really struggling with the 3 times a day. And people have to understand, it's not just davening with a minyan 3 times a day. It's davening with a minyan 3 times a day, and you must be early.
Right.
You must be early, right? Because it's like, I tell people, it's like having to catch a plane 3 times a day, every day.
Right.
And even Shabbos, because you have to say Kaddish, even if you're not chazan. So a friend of mine confided in me. It's like, he's like, I don't understand. How is this Toras Chesed? How is this? Like, Hashem is loving, but I'm following Jewish custom and law, and it feels so burdensome. So I told him, I don't know what it's like for you, but I know for me that here is a primary example of the wisdom of Chazal and their knowledge of the inner workings of the human mind. I promise you, the fact that I am forced to leave the house multiple times a day has saved my mental health. Because the grief, the loss, and if you're an introspective person, especially, you can start going, and there's always, with a parent, there's always regret, right? There's always thank God, the fact that I am forced not only to leave the house, but to be among people, and to interact with them. And even if I don't want to do the chit chat like everyone else does before and after davening, which I abhor, but I have to interact to some extent. Like, I'm waiting, how many guys are ready for Yishtabach? I know how many guys are, like, every point of davening, I'm forced to be aware of other people. And I didn't do a control, for the experiment and see what would happen to grieve while sitting isolated by myself the way I know I would naturally do, but I can only imagine what state my mental health would be in. And I see how incredibly helpful it is for the process of finding comfort and turning the loss into something productive, to force me to be among people, to force me to be in that community. That tefillah b'tzibur, that tzibur really is, and I don't want it. I want to isolate.
Yeah.
But I'm forced to seek out the tzibur, which is my healing. I don't naturally want what's healing me. I naturally want what's bad for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me suffer. Let me get
I need
worse.
to do this.
So I'm saying I see this. Yeah. Not only do I see it in my life, but I'm saying I see it with I'm running these sober homes, and these guys, all they want to do is just stay in their room. But like, the whole thing is that there's so much happening. You have to leave.
Yeah.
You have to be part of it. I use FOMO as a lot of the work we do. Because I'm like, there's stuff going on.
Strategically.
Strategically.
You lure them out of their room.
Oh, yeah. There's things going on. Lots of
even
things.
The biggest isolating.
It's hard.
But you give them a reason to at least
we
peek their head
even
out.
Just great conversations happening, and they're hearing it upstairs.
Right.
Like, it's like,
okay, I got to check this out.
Okay, what is that? You have people like wandering down in their, their robes or whatever. So it's... The forcing of going out is a part of the process. The beginning part is just we're holding you. And like there's nothing. And then there's slowly we're going to walk you together down the line. Then we're going to force you to come join us, not letting you just sit there. So it's absolutely stunning. It didn't hit me. And as I believed this, and I talked about this years ago, but I never felt it. like I did when I actually went through this year, which was like, oh my God, the horror of people sitting around and having me have to say things about my I just
Right.
I was like, please.
The opposite of what I want.
I really didn't want it. I knew exactly what I wanted, and that was my very comfortable bed without anybody. And that was, but it didn't do that. Anyway, okay.
I relate to that so much, by the way. Definitely. Like, I don't know if everyone relates to it, but
yeah.
Totally,
So this is where like I always admired you so much, but I had this really wacky shift in how I viewed you when I told you this before, but I logged into your
Instagram
live by accident.
Yeah.
Because I never go on lives. But I was driving home from everybody makes fun of me that I talk about having a Tesla, but my Tesla drives itself. So I was able to I turned on Instagram, which probably is not the right thing to do, even if it's driving itself. And I saw that you were live, so I just pressed on.
Let's check it out.
Let's check it out.
Okay.
And you went. I was like, I can't believe someone else thinks like this, which started making me feel like I'm neurodivergent. That's what was happening, because you were talking about poetry and music and Judaism and relationships and community and then comedy and it was all this
frenetic stream of consciousness.
And I was like, I didn't realize that other people think that way.
Yeah.
And I always think that way. Everybody thinks I'm moving in a lot of directions at once, and I started realizing that I don't know, maybe everybody thinks that way, but the things that make me excited all the time, and then the horror of me of like I'm doing the same thing for 25 years. Like right. I need to be I want to be in archery. I want to I take on these crazy hobbies that don't make any sense. I don't know if you do that, but I took on card counting for a while.
Wow.
Studied card counting. My wife doesn't let me do it anymore.
By the way.
I'm outing myself.
Well, I'm just saying.
Casinos are watching.
Not only the special interests.
Yeah.
But like card counting is a special interest. I think you're looking for your neurodivergent diagnosis.
That's it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Ugh, it's so much fun. Yeah. And you go to a casino. The thing is, it took a year before I even walked to a casino. I never even been to a casino. I was just.
But now that you know how to card count, you got to go test it.
I have to test it.
Okay. Were you good enough to get banned?
No, the thing is, I was. One time they tried to. They almost did, but basically, I work with very little money. Meaning, I'm like, the trick is, I'm not trying to make money.
Right.
I don't care.
Don't be a chazer.
No, not even a chazer.
For fun. Right.
I'm coming in with $500.
Right.
The real
you
card
could have
couches,
scaled it.
Right.
You could have.
But then they're going to kick me out, and I'm
right.
enjoying.
And that's not the point. The point is fun.
The point.
Right. The point is to see if I could do it.
I could do it. And I was sitting there. I was sitting at these tables for 10 hours straight, like a crazy person.
You have a very special mind, my friend.
Yeah. So I was listening to you. I'm like, I get into that and archery and bowling and this, like all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And just like the amount of like the areas. I think you were talking about Johnny Cash at one time, and then I
may have mentioned Johnny Cash in the context of he was the first American to receive the news that Stalin died.
Was he?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
He was working for the Air Force. He got the message. He decoded the message that the Kremlin kept it hush hush. There's a whole story about when the Lubavitcher Rebbe, there's a Farbrengen in 770, Purim. He said, "Hurrah, he is evil," and then Stalin died. So yeah. It's a whole, that might have been the
That's
context.
Awesome. Okay, it might have been the context. But then I was I even sent questions, and I was trying to like throw you off, like ask you, what do you think about Shel Silverstein? I was like trying.
Oh, just trying to be as random as possible. Just knock this guy off the log. You know that thing where they're like in the river and they're standing on the log and you try to like upset the log and make the guy fall?
Yeah.
So you're throwing in the Shel Silverstein. You're thinking, this will knock him off.
This will knock him off. I was.
Yeah, but I just flowed with you.
You just flowed. It was fantastic.
Oh,
and I couldn't stop.
That's why Johnny Cash was.
I was going back to
no, because Shel Silverstein. Shel Silverstein wrote "A Boy Named Sue," which is Johnny Cash's song.
Okay,
that's the connection.
Oh, Shel Silverstein wrote that?
Yes, he did, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
And by the way, talk about codependent.
Yeah.
The Giving Tree.
Yeah.
The Giving Tree.
Yeah, it's one of the greats.
Sicko.
Mine was great. Although that book is, that guy's a sicko. Shel Silverstein.
He was a
Love him
complex
very
person. That's
much. A
what
complex person.
We call him complex.
No,
people.
but so what you brought up there was I started going.
And you caused me like a little bit of annoyance because
Why?
you were so excited about it.
Yeah.
You told you don't realize you might be a nut who does card counting,
Yeah.
but you're a respected figure in this community.
I know.
And then you were so excited about my crazy, unfiltered 3-hour rant on Instagram. You told other people, you got to watch this. And I have fathers in earnest seeking me out. Oh, I heard you did this profound thing. It's a must watch for the recovery community. I'm like, no, it was a bunch of ridiculous ranting. So you didn't really, you should have done with a disclaimer. Like,
I should have done
if you just
disclaimer.
want to watch an absolute nut being unfiltered. Yeah. But they took you seriously.
I thought you climbed into my brain. That's what I felt. So now, meanwhile, what do I start thinking? I'm like, here's the other thing. You were talking about so many things, not necessarily in that 3 hours, but when I started like looking up this neurodivergent thing, because I have ADHD, but it's not, I don't think of, like when I was a kid, I never thought I was chutzpahdik.
Yeah.
And you described something, I was like, oh my God. But I didn't have the hierarchy thing.
Right.
It was like, if
It was
you
lost on you.
I just had my principal on my podcast. No one had a clue. Like, what are you having on? Like,
Right.
it was my principal of elementary school.
Okay.
I was like, let's talk. And he said, your problem is that you were smarter than all the teachers. So
And didn't hide that.
I didn't hide it.
Yeah.
And he said he was copying me, like he remembered me because I was making he was like, but you don't understand, what they're saying is ridiculous.
Right.
So I even had a story where like a big Rosh Yeshiva was like yelling at me about something I did wrong.
Right.
And I just waited patiently because
Right.
I was being very respectful. And then he marched off. He was like spitting and yelling in my face and like, getting all hyped up. And I listened. And then he walked away. And I said, well, I didn't go yet.
How old are you?
Probably 4th grade, 5th
9,
grade.
10?
Yeah, something like that. 9, 10.
Tell the Rosh Hashanah,
Yeah, I was like, he came
come to the
back.
ahead.
Oh my God, I got beaten up bad for that one. They slammed me up against the wall. Yeah, machutzav. And I literally looked at him like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I was getting in trouble all the time,
Right.
having no idea why.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a lot.
And the thing is, they look at it as rebelliousness, and it doesn't even occur to you. Rebellion? That didn't even come up in the conversation. It was like you said, you yelled at me. Okay, now I get to yell. I mean, maybe I won't yell, but at least let me say my part.
Right.
It doesn't even occur to you.
He had some good points.
Yeah, and then I'll have some points. It doesn't even occur to you. No, the 9-year-old does not get a turn. Why would that occur to you?
It didn't occur to me.
Blind spot. Right.
So I didn't realize that that's like a neurodivergent thing. And then there was another thing you said.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is.
In this rant or somewhere else?
No, it was somewhere else. It was somewhere else because then I got hooked. But and that was one. And then there was another one, which was, oh man, now I'm forgetting it. But it was like so. Oh my God, I've been doing this my whole life.
Right.
And not knowing it, but I can't remember. I'm going to remember in a second. But I'm saying that idea of being a kid, I was like constantly confused about why I was in trouble every single
and confused
day.
as to why.
And everybody and people would call me things. I'm like, I'm for sure not that. I'm I a good parent. And I know to be respectful to an older person. I waited till the end. There was so many stories like this.
Yeah.
And it was like, anyway. So I started thinking to myself, I'm like, is the way my brain works? Oh, this is the other one. Okay, this is even more important. Social anxiety.
Yeah.
People come to me and say they have social anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't have social anxiety. I have no social anxiety. I could go out there, I could make lectures, and everybody sees it. Like people say, if you call on me at any point and say, there's a story with you, actually. I'll tell you. It's a funny story because a long time ago, I don't know if you remember, we were supposed to be on a panel together.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yes, I do.
And then you said on the way in, you know what? I don't really want to do a panel. Let's make lectures. Like I'll do one and then you do one.
Okay.
And I was like, I didn't prepare anything, but I could get up and make
just
up.
wing it. Yeah.
Just wing it.
Yeah, I remember that. You were great. Yeah.
Right. So I think I talked about codependency, but it was like people would think that someone who could just wing it and go out there and make jokes and, you know, like do it.
Yeah.
And I could. I don't have a problem.
Right. And yet,
but
you're the guy who wants to self-isolate and tell all the people get away from it.
No, but when you talked about like,
but do you understand for most people, those two things don't go together?
They don't understand. What do you mean?
If you're able to stand up in a room of 300 people, then obviously you're a people person.
Right.
They would not believe you that your natural state is to go isolate and be exhausted by human contact. How do those two things go together? People won't believe that.
They don't believe it.
No.
But when you describe it, I was so happy because I actually, about a year ago, this was the last summer, I was in the pool and I told my daughter, you know what I should do? I should write a book, but it's about my day. Because I spoke to 70 people today. And every story is a different story and how I felt and relationships that are personal, relationships that I have all this fascinating day. And then I recorded it all and I actually have it and maybe one day I'll put it out the book. It's a fascinating idea. But then I'm thinking, how is a guy who doesn't want to talk to even one person speak to 70 people?
Yeah.
And then I do. And I give my heart and I know what's right. I want to do it. I want to give. But I am so dead at the end of it.
Yes.
I'm like, and I can't really, you said you could be sick for 3 days. I can't because the next day it starts again.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of the work I'm doing. I'm so proud that is, but I am so drained from it.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know. You described it as like a neurodivergent thing. I was just thinking, am I not strong enough for this? Like, I know this sounds...
Now I'm going to do the Joe Rogan thing, what you call the Joe Rogan move, which is,
it's going to be stuck in your head forever, this Joe Rogan move.
I'm using this, well, I'm conscious now of the fact that I do it a lot. I'm using this term neurodivergent because it's a word that other people understand. As I've said before, and this is another one of my moves. Oh, this is the Joe Rogan move. I'm not a mental health professional. Neurodivergent is a diagnostic term. I'm clearly not using that in any clinical sense. I'm not qualified to use it in a clinical sense. I'm using it colloquially because it's a word that communicates. I use words, to me, everything's a mushal. Every word is a mushal. It's just a symbol that means something to people. So I'm using the word neurodivergent because it's shorthand. It communicates something to a lot of people right now. 10 years ago, the word meant nothing. Maybe 10 years from now, it'll mean nothing. But now I use it because it's shorthand to describe a cluster of personality traits. So just so you understand, I'm using that word neurodivergent like very loosely.
Okay.
Like if you would ask someone who actually is an expert, which I am not.
Which I am not as well.
They might tell you, well, he's using that term wrong. So I don't know if this is the correct thing. And just so you know, not only am I not a mental health professional and I'm not trained and I don't have any schooling, I don't even read books.
Really?
No. People ask me all the time. Yeah. They'll ask me like, what do you think about this new modality of therapy? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Well, maybe you're not trained in it. Did you read the book? No, I didn't. I don't read secular books.
That I'm surprised about because I read nonstop. Not so much the new stuff.
I can barely keep up with my shiurim.
Right, okay, gotcha.
So anything I know that's like, it's the same. I tell people, like, if I use a therapeutic term, I'm using that term in the exact same way, with the exact same reverence as I will reference who won the World Series. You know what I mean by that?
No. I'm waiting for
It's information that I know about because it's in the world. It's important to a lot of people who I may be speaking to, and therefore it's a useful reference to make because it communicates something. but it's not like I'm a baseball fan. It's not like I'm certainly not a baseball player, but I might reference something because it's meaningful to others and it's an effective way to communicate. The same way I'll refer to, I might use a therapeutic term, but it's not that I'm trained in it. It's not that I've experienced it. It's that I heard the word being used and I'm like, oh, that's a good word for that thing that I know about. I'll use that word until it's not the right word for it anymore.
Okay. I get it now.
Okay. So, if I'll make a reference to a novel, Moby Dick. Think I read Moby Dick? I didn't read Moby Dick. But I can make reference to it. It's called cocktail party wisdom. Basically, having a very vast body of knowledge that's about this deep. So I can extemporaneously...
Breath. I don't know how to say
breadth.
Breath.
Yeah, Bekias. It's called Bekias.
Bekias.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And almost any topic. I can discuss almost any topic
Okay.
for 30 seconds.
Okay.
I can discuss almost any topic with an expert in that topic for 30 seconds.
All right.
As long as I can bail out after 30 seconds, I'll be okay. So why am I telling you this?
You definitely got me fooled.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's because you do have an enormous amount of information of a million different things. So how did you get me in? Like that's from
Just a sponge.
picking it up.
Well, see, that's another
You
thing.
don't read fiction either? No.
Fiction, like novels.
Yeah.
I think the last novel I read, I was on, what's it called, 1840 with Bashevkin. And he referenced a novel, and it happened to have been the last novel that I read. And it was like 25 years ago.
It's a Slumdog Millionaire move. I don't know if you ever watched that movie.
The Punk knows the thing.
He only knows those things.
And by the way, that's a great example. I never saw it, but I know what that reference means. That he Punk Bashkocha Protis knows the thing. Yeah, and I know what that reference is, but I never saw it.
That's amazing.
Right. So Shevkin told me, I told a story. He says, that's Kafka-esque. And I'm like, yeah, it's like The Trial by Franz Kafka. And then he starts, he's a real intellectual.
Right.
Book of Shabbos. He reads a book every Shabbos, right? So, and I was like, no, that was the last novel I read. It was like 25 years ago. And yeah.
Right, and Kafka's enough of intellectual that reading it is not even really fiction. It's the ideas.
It doesn't even count as fiction, right? You're talking about like Jurassic Park or something. No, I never read a Crichton novel.
I read it nonstop.
Yeah.
Everything.
I think I read a bunch of Stephen King short stories when I was a teenager, and it traumatized me. That's about the extent of my.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Fiction.
I would ask you straight questions because we're both in a stream of consciousness now.
Flowing.
Flowing. Can I ask you a massive question? I'll ask it. You tell me if it's too massive. Like, in your view of watching everything that's going on, what is it that we got to be working on as a people, maybe as a Jewish nation, if you want to go there, but even I know that the world is following, even like the secular world is following you. I feel like there's a mission here, but what is it? All right, explain that.
Okay. Baal Shem Tov had Elias and Neshama. He saw the Neshama of Mashiach. He said, Mosi Kosimar, when is the master going to come? When is Mashiach coming? Mashiach says, when your wellsprings, Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, your teachings, he called them wellsprings, are disseminated outward. So that's our job. Our job is Hafatzas Hamayonis, to spread out the wellsprings. That's why I'm here today, by the way. I told my wife on the way over here, it's Erev Shabbos, so I'm coming to Manhattan to do a podcast. I said, it's an opportunity for Hafatzas Hamayonis. She was like, okay, fine.
So are we spreading specific or everything? Chassidus.
The wellsprings means Teres Baal Shem Tov, which is Chassidus. And that's all I teach. Yes, I use references. I know the Kafka reference and the Slumdog Millionaire reference. I know those references. But they're just references to me. It's not what I koch in. It's not meaningful to me. Everything I'm teaching, I only know it from one source. It's only from Chassidus. Any wisdom that I have, it's only from Chassidus. That's going back to where we started about why I got burnt out on the Ami column. The
Yeah.
whole point of the Ami column was Hafatzas Hamayonis. It was only ever to teach Chassidus and show how to use Chassidus as a way of dealing with day-to-day life. I took that methodology directly from the Igrus, from the Lubavitcher Rebbe's published correspondences, where the Rebbe, the Rebbe has Maimorim, which are very deep, and Sichas, which are very scholarly, but then the Igrus are the letters. The Rebbe's just talking to real people about their real problems, and the Rebbe's modeling how to use Chassidus as an organizing principle for understanding day-to-day life. And that's the only agenda I ever had. I wanted Hafatzas Hamayonis. I wanted people to understand the power of, they don't have to know that it's Chassidus because that's a trigger word for some people, but they should know it's Torah. It's Torah. And instead what happened, and this is why I got so burnt out, and it just killed me. It killed me. It was a dagger in my heart. I couldn't take it anymore, is that people assumed that I was getting it from secular sources. Like, of course, you're a therapist, right? Can I book a session with you? No, I'm not a therapist. Well, where were you trained? This is all Chassidus, but you're using these words. I'm using language that you understand. The ideas are only from Chassidus. But I got so tired of being misunderstood. That's the bane of my existence, by the way. My whole life is the heartbreak of being misunderstood. Yeah. And being misunderstood in that way just became too painful for me to bear. And I pushed myself for years. I did that column for years. I quit one other time. I quit for a year, and then I came back for a few years, and I quit again for a year. Is that the disappointment and the frustration of being misunderstood, of people thinking I'm doing something that I'm not doing, when the whole reason I'm doing it is being lost on the audience. So it was so heartbreaking. And people are going to be so self-indulgent. What do you mean? You're writing a column. People are benefiting. What do you care what they think it is? I do care what they think it is. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the answer guy. I'm not here to give answers. I'm here to teach how to do something. But if you don't even know what I'm doing, how are you going to do it?
I almost relate to what you're saying, because a lot of the work I'm doing with addiction work and all that stuff is that everybody thinks like I went from like a successful career to opening a sober living home, which doesn't make any sense, especially because if people know how much private practice charges now. It didn't make any sense. It's usually sober living homes are created by people like a year in recovery, and then they just throw up a house and they say, come live here and follow the rules.
Very common.
It's just an easy thing. So I'm building this. My whole thing is a much larger mission. Everybody keeps coming over, let's figure out how to make money out of it. And this, I'm spreading an idea of community that could hold people while they go through the most difficult thing you can imagine. And this community's got to spread in a way. It's not about a home. It's about a community that keeps growing. And it has been. But I keep getting everybody coming over and like, okay, well, we could build this way. We could do this way. And I'm like, you guys are all missing what's happening here. And it's like, someone said, it kind of hurt me, but like someone said, oh, you just want to be famous with your podcast. Like she was upset about something. I was like, I'm trying to spread ideas that are awesome. Right. I also want to have great conversations. There's a million reasons. Yeah. But I mamish relate to what you're saying, because it's a constantly people think I'm doing what I'm not doing. I'm not doing that.
That's not what I'm doing.
I gave up a chance of money for this. If money comes along, great.
Right.
But that's never been the goal. So
what's more hurtful, when somebody dislikes you for something that you're not, or likes you for something that you're not?
I think when I was a kid, I really hated being blamed for things I wasn't. So I don't know. I think it's that one, because at least they like me. I was just gonna talk from a very selfish place. Like, I don't like either. But if someone like, oh, I love him because he's, I don't know, something, they come up with something that I am,
Right.
At least he's a fan. I don't know. That's it. It's like they missed the point. I don't love it.
Yeah, but at least it's It's nice.
It's nicer than the haters, and I'm like, you want to hate me for what I am? Knock yourself out.
No, I'm saying when someone hates you for something that you're not.
No.
Right.
Like that was the worst thing. As a kid, it was constantly. I was like,
well, they thought you were rebellious.
Right. I'm like, I'm not that.
Right.
Like I do things wrong. You could go for those things.
Right.
But
that's not one of them.
Right. I don't pay attention. Like I had a thing where the first 2 weeks of school, I read all the textbooks because I'm a reader. I love it. And I love math and I love history and I love all this stuff.
All of the textbooks?
2 weeks in.
You cover to cover the first 2 weeks.
Not only that, I would take my brothers, who was, right there. Yeah, well, my brother was 2 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And
it
he
wasn't
got
enough
brand new
that you
ones.
read your textbooks.
I would read all his. And I would read all the reading material. Like all the reading material. Like he would have like books. So I was 2 years ahead.
And then when you were in class, you couldn't pay attention.
This is ridiculous. What are you guys even teaching here? They one time gave me, in third grade, they said, you know what, just give them the next textbook. Let them do the workbooks.
Yeah.
And within like 3 weeks, I was at 12th grade math. Mm-hmm. But then I was still in third grade math.
Right. Frustrated.
And I'm like, what am I? Right. So I was bored.
Climbing the walls.
And I would read books under my thing, and I was always doodling.
Yeah.
I tell you the craziest doodle story. I don't know, we're going in a million different
I want
directions.
to hear this.
Crazy. One day.
Don't worry.
Okay, good. I was out by recess. I got called in. My mother's there. I'm like, I don't know what I did. It was most of the time I didn't know.
Whoa. Your mother shows up.
My mother is in the classroom with my Rebbe, and I was called in from recess.
No.
I don't know what's going on. I'm terrified. I'm going through everything I did. And they have my chumash in front of them. And so I was like, shoot. I look at the chumash. I realize I doodled all. And every single empty spot is a doodle. I'm like, oh, I got this. You're not supposed to write in the chumash. Like, I got that. So
and you're ready to own up to that.
I'm like, I feel bad.
Right.
I'll take whatever
I know what I
punishment.
did. I know it's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it. I was just
And you
bored.
think you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I got to figure it out. So so they start giving me this whole talk. Like, are you all right? Are you this? What have you been thinking at home?
They're not being angry. They're
almost like
concerned.
And I'm like, I know I'm not allowed to write in the chumash. I know.
Right.
I get bored. I'm sorry. I'll try not to, And this is what happened. What happened was, and it took a while for them to explain to me because I didn't know it.
Right.
I think it was fourth grade. And I discovered with my doodling a really cool design. It was if you take two like square S's and you put them together, you get this really cool like throwing star looking design.
Yes, yeah.
Which is also known as a swastika.
Uh-huh.
I had 3 pages of swastikas
You
all
didn't
my
know it was a
chumash.
swastika?
I had no clue what a swastika was.
Really?
I had no clue. It didn't occur to me that there was a swastika. I didn't know what a swastika was. So I literally filled 3 pages of the chumash because that's how obsessed I would get. I would just be like, okay, design, till I perfected it,
Yes.
And then I move on to the next design.
Yes.
So can you imagine how psycho this kid looks?
Yeah.
And I didn't mean it at all.
Of course not.
But this was was the story of my childhood. It was constantly people thinking things I'm not. So I'm saying that's when I'm listening to your discussion of neurodivergence, which was nice to get a kind of a word for it because I'm very capable. I've always been very capable. So I'm like, there's no diagnosis. I'm not just, I could get out there and do it.
To the contrary, because you're so capable, well, you have a problem? You don't have a problem. If anything, you're lazy and you're not living up to your potential or something,
Right.
Right.
It was, anyway.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, as I was saying, it really related to that.
So what do people think you're doing?
With what?
The people who misunderstand you.
They think I'm in the addiction industry. This is my biggest thing.
And why is that so hurtful?
Because I'm not in the addiction industry. I'm in the world getting better industry. And it's not an industry. It's life. And the fact that I have to support my family is a part of my life, but it's the fact that I need to spend my time, and there's another, I can't spend my time doing something I don't believe in. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I got to spend my time and this is what I is, people think this is
If we
my
would pay
job.
you $1 million a year to sit in a cubicle 9 to 5,
Not only that,
couldn't do it.
can I tell you, I've been offered
Oh, you've been offered to do it.
to run literally $1 million a year to run a rehab.
Couldn't do it.
I was like, I don't want to run a rehab. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not in your I'm not in your same game. And people don't know that, and they'll discuss my methods. Are you right or wrong? I'm like, what are you talking about? We're all doing the same thing. I'm bringing some chidushim into this, and I'm not happy. I'll give you an example with sober livings. With the sober livings I have, we're gonna finish soon.
No, I'm okay. I'm good.
I realize it's Friday.
No.
So in sober livings, there's a main sober living, and then we have step-up houses, right?
Okay.
Which is all planned. Part of my master evil plan is to have these step-up houses. The rule of my sober living is that for life, if you ever went through that house, you have free dinner. For life. Just come back 5 years later, 10 years later, because
Saying alumni can always come by for dinner.
always come back for dinner.
Do they?
Yeah. Every night, I'm in the house, we have 11, 12, 13 guys, whatever it is at the time. That's our average, whatever. Sometimes it goes up to 18, whatever. I have to cook for 40, 50 guys a night.
Right.
Every single night. They don't have to tell us they're coming. They show up and they eat. They hang out with the guys, or this and that. Everybody gets to know. Everybody in the house knows all the alumni. Some guys will come once a week. Some guys will come once a month. Some guys will This is not, do you know how much money I lose from that? There's no logical reason for that to happen. It doesn't make any sense. But this is like, finally, it's an example. We're not in the same industry. I also don't want to charge anybody to come. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. But I'm not doing it through billing. And everybody's really mad at me. I mean, billing means you're sitting down in therapy all day. I'm all for therapy once a week. I would, if I could bill for two guys sitting around a fire,
Right.
having a deep conversation about life and opening up a little bit about themselves, I'd bill away. But I don't think 12 therapy sessions and coloring in a coloring book is going to save their lives. I'm not in the world. And I know that is a world. So that's the thing. I mean, I'm being accused of being in the addiction industry. Like most people would think I'm in the addiction
Right,
industry.
of course.
That's what I'm
In
doing.
fact, they get annoyed if you tell them you're not, because they have this image, they have this idea, and then you tell them it's wrong, and it's very...
Yeah. Not only that, I get at least once or twice a week, I get a phone call from someone who's building something similar, looks similar, and wants advice and this and, and to the point where I'm like, and they're like, okay, how do you do billing for this? And I'm like, we're not in the same world. And what I try to do is pepper in a little bit of this is how you actually help people.
Right, the secret
And
sauce.
but they think I'm saying when your idea of being misunderstood resonates so powerfully with me. Anyway, I've been talking about myself for a while, but I'm very grateful that you have expressed it. Also, most people talk about social anxiety and they're just terrified to go into a room.
Right.
And you were the first person who described it as it's just overwhelming because
It's overwhelming. It's overstimulated.
It's right. Also, I don't love conversations about the weather. I just can't do it. I just got into football with the guys to connect with a guy because he's a wonderful, awesome guy, and he's really into the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm like, we're gonna watch football together. But to me, that was part of the healing. Right. I will get into football if it's healing.
Right.
I can't understand football if it's not for healing. To just yell at a screen, I can't get it. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, that's... Any thoughts on that?
Let me tell you why. I'm not trying to convince you, but I think I will.
Let's go.
I think personally, it's worse to be liked for something that you're not than to be disliked for something you're not. I don't know, worse. Worse is an objective term. It's more hurtful. I'll tell you what, just personally for me.
Yeah.
Someone that hates me or dislikes me for something that I know I didn't do or I didn't say, and that happens all the time, especially if you're a public figure. People have all types of misunderstandings about what you did or said or what they think you meant. And if someone dislikes me for it, I feel bad, but I feel bad that they're upset. I don't feel bad that you don't like me. I don't need you to like me. I feel bad that there's someone who's out there who they're feeling bad. Like if they're, well, I guess some people enjoy being mad, but you know, if they're feeling yucky about it, I'm like, I don't want to be the cause, even if I'm not really to blame, but I feel bad about that, right? But it's not like personally devastating. But when somebody likes me or something, you got the wrong guy. That's not, I didn't do that. I never meant that. That's not what I stand for. That's not, I so much want to be understood. I crave being understood. And it's like the most elusive thing in my life. So it's such a tease, because when someone comes over and says, I like you is almost like next door neighbors with, I get you. And then you find out, no, you don't get me. It's the opposite of getting me. You totally misunderstood. So it's the heartbreak of like, I'm about to be understood, and then no, all by myself again, misunderstood. So for me, that's much more devastating.
I mean, I'm not convinced, because I think I still have that part of me that likes to be liked. So I'm like, oh,
That's good enough to be liked. Yeah.
Right. So they both suck. I don't know how to say it. It's like choose your suck. I get what you're saying, but
I guess I don't get enough of a high off of being liked. The truth is, I get nothing. I get no personal positive feeling from praise. Doesn't.
No?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Doesn't affect me. No, it's not because I worked on myself. It's not because I'm I'm not wired that way. It doesn't.
Is it the same with criticism?
That does affect me.
Oh, you may be a codependent. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. No, the comments on, I'm not supposed to look at comments, I guess, because that's what Joe Rogan says. I gotta listen to Joe Rogan. But some of the comments, I'm like, ouch, that hurts. But I get a million happy, like nice comments. I don't even know. Anyway, we brought it up with the. So what am I? Here's the question.
Yeah.
What am I? I know it's not like more of an interview podcast, but what am I not asking you to help you understand yourself better? Like for the audience to help us understand you better. Like, what are you being misunderstood about?
What could you ask me that would give me an opportunity to explain myself in a way that your listenership would understand me the way I want to be understood?
If they made it to this point.
If they made it to this point.
They will. This is great.
Okay. I mean, I think in general, why questions are any why question, like, why did you do that? Oh, by the way, that's another thing. Regular people hate that question. Why did you do that? It's considered the most offensive question. Why did you do that? Because I'm going to use the term neurodivergent and neurotypical, even though, disclaimer, I don't know what those words mean.
Right.
Okay. But a neurotypical society, which by definition, society is neurotypical, because that's what defines what is typical, is what's the majority. They don't say things straight. They say things furtively. And so when you ask someone, why did you do that? What you're really saying is, I don't like what you did. But you won't say, I don't like what you did. You'll say it in this sideways type of, why did you do that, right? But when a neurodivergent person will say, why did you do that? It literally means, I'm curious. Why did you do that?
I got into trouble 1,000 times on that exact problem. Sorry, go on.
Right. Explain it to me. I'm curious. Why did you do that? So generally, why questions are good for understanding people's motives. Like, Why do you feel that way? Why did you do that? Why do you want that? Why does that hurt you? Those are the types of questions that allow people the opportunity to express themselves deeply.
Right.
So you really, anything you would ask that you know about me, you could say, hey, Shais, I saw that 3-hour freestyle rant that you did on Instagram, and I watched it while I was myself driving Tesla, and I really enjoyed it. Why did you do that? That would give me an opportunity,
Right.
to express myself.
Okay. So now I'm thinking, why did you create SoulWords?
I mean,
That's-
because I didn't want it to be chaistaub.com.
No.
Why is it called SoulWords?
No, not why it's called.
You say, why the whole...
You can explain what
the whole thing.
SoulWords is. I'm
Because SoulWords is like this umbrella term for what's become this fairly large enterprise. Like, I'm in the middle of my annual campaign, by the way, charity.com/RST. Can I fundraise?
Yes.
Charity.com.
link in the description.
Will you do it?
Of course.
Link in the description, charity.com/RST. And people are like, what are you raising $600,000 for? So here's the deal. They think it's just like one dude with a smartphone, posting selfie videos. SoulWords has become a virtual community and now an actual physical, real space community. The virtual community is, these numbers are mind-blowing, but 10 million people a month. 10 million people across all platforms. 10 million people a month. It's crazy, insane. That's the virtual community. And then we have the physical location, half a block from the Ohel, in Queens, near the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Ohel. We have this house we remodeled. The mayor of New York City was there a couple weeks ago, recorded a podcast. The basement is a state-of-the-art podcast studio. I'll have you back. And
I'm sure it'll be much easier.
We'll just flip it, right. And I'll interview you. But the basement is a podcast studio, video production facility. The first floor is event space. We have shiurim and fabrengens and different types of gatherings there where people can get together in real life. So it's this virtual community. It's the in-person space. But what is it? Like, why did I make it? I made it as an apparatus, as a tool within which to reach people. Like you said, you're excited about ideas. There's this idea. You're trying to express an idea. You're having a podcast to be famous. There's like this burning idea within you. So SoulWords was this okay, so maybe it started as a website, and then it became social media, and then it became a physical location. These are just tools that allow the idea to go from me to someone else. Just like it went from someone else to me, and now I wanted to go from me to someone else. That's what it is. It's a megaphone. That's what it is.
Okay, so now I'm just going to ask one further, maybe more than one, but why you?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. You kind of answered what?
So that's such a good question, because to argue, to make the case that something has a purpose and it needs to exist is very different than making a case that you're the one who has to be doing it. Everyone was created for a purpose. It's an axiom, right? We believe that. Everyone was created for a purpose. Not everyone has the same purpose. I mean, ultimately, we all have the same purpose, which is to perfect the world, to bring Mashiach. That's our purpose. That's what I believe. But the way we do that is going to be vastly different depending on our skills and our resources and our opportunities, and also our challenges. Factor that in as well. The things that are a struggle for you also helps you to see where your unique contribution is. So we all have to make a contribution. So what was I going to be? A plumber? Like, honest question. Like, what? I have to be something. And like you said, do I have to support a family? Yeah, I have to support a family. But that's a separate concern. Right. Hashem gives parnasa. Yeah, I have to have a job. Fine. But on a much deeper level. I have to have some contribution.
Not everybody thinks this. So,
But it's not everyone thinks it, but
Yeah.
it's true of everyone that everyone has to have some type of contribution. They have to contribute something.
right.
I was saying on one of my rants, I don't know if it was the one that you were on, the Instagram rants, I was saying how much I envy people in the trades, someone who can build a deck, a carpenter who can build a deck, or a plumber.
Yeah, I think it was. And
You heard me talking about
I
that?
loved it.
So what did I say?
I think it was that there's you make something, you know what you're making. There's a conclusion. It's there. I think I remember that's
Yes.
what you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not in that world.
So a guy is hired to build a deck. I know that I did it. Here it is. Here's the deck. And when you're in this space of like helping people, yeah, you helped them? Yeah, how do you know? Show it to me. Show it to me. Show me the result. What did you build? What did you make? I don't know. What did I do? I said a bunch of stuff. I heard a bunch of stuff. What was made? Somebody who can go to work and work with their hands and build something. And at the end of the day, this is what I made. And it's indisputable. They made something. I'm so envious of that because it's like, okay, so I said a bunch of stuff and people will tell me, oh, you changed my life.
Right.
Did I? Did I really? Can you prove it to me? Like, I would love to believe that I changed your life, but could you demonstrate that? Is it possible to demonstrate? Or I just have to kind of take it on faith that you feel that way about me, you know? And it's very hard. But going back to your question, why you? Why Shais? I would love to be a guy who builds decks. It's not what I do. And I guess I could learn how to do it, but I don't think I would be good enough to justify going into competition with the other guys who do it well.
Right.
Whereas there's other stuff that people keep telling me I'm doing well, and they can't all be mistaken. They can't all be lying. So I probably am doing at least a little bit well. So that's probably an indication that that's my area where I'm supposed to be productive. That's the answer.
Yeah. It's a hard one to think about, like when you're like, I mean, I have many times, because of my exhaustion from this, and you were talking about passion fatigue, and the other things. I've really, and I love those other things. By the way, woodwork is one of my big passions for a little bit. Which I
You
love.
had a lot of passions for a little bit.
Yeah, like a lot. It's not
Archery, card counting.
Yeah, it keeps going.
Yeah.
Woodworking. Yeah, woodworking was a huge one.
Yeah.
And there are many more I want to try. Like I really want to try them all, but I don't have time for everything. But every time I've tried to step out of what I'm doing, it's almost like the universe just threw me back in, or God, or whatever. But like it's like you're not like for a little while I was like, oh, you know what? I have almost enough money. Like let me just make a side business of like vending machines. I'll just do vending machines, and then I work at night, with the guys. And like I couldn't breathe. Like it was wrong. It was something wrong with it. So like the explanation is, even though you're explaining it, is also something that's unexplainable. Like this is,
right.
Did the Rebbe give you shlichus, or you were probably pretty young?
I was very young. Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah.
I only saw the Rebbe once.
Where are you from originally?
From Far Rockaway.
Oh, you're like I'm in Cedarhurst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, so I was born in Far Rockaway, but we grew up. The Lubavitch was like bad.
yeah.
We were part of that group.
Yeah.
And then our family became like very connected to Lubavitch, but it was like in the
Where,
beginning.
in Far Rockaway?
In Far Rockaway. No, my mother got very into Lubavitch. We also were very close to Simon Jacobson. He was.
Oh, very nice.
When I was trying to get into high school, he would like learn with me, like in his
Nice.
office in 770.
Really?
That's how I saw the Rebbe
Wow.
one time, because I was there and they brought him out. It was after his stroke,
Right.
so they brought him out and I didn't.
So you were a teenager.
I didn't even know what the Rebbe was. I'm not even gonna lie. I had no idea. Not only did I know what the Rebbe was, I didn't even know what Ashkenaz and Sfarad was. There were a lot of details that I just missed. Like if they didn't make any sense to me, little details. So the Rebbe didn't make any, like, I didn't know who he was. So I came in to see, and then people were singing, and then he moved.
Right.
And he probably didn't move in months. Like he was was at that point, they wheeled him out. He just did like this, and I've never seen pandemonium like that in my life.
93.
Must be 92 maybe?
Summer of
Is that
92.
possible?
Yeah, the summer, yeah.
Something around that time. He wasn't moving a lot. Maybe he moved a little bit at the time, but he was.
Yeah.
And I literally was lifted off the ground and ended up in the back of the room.
Because of the crowd.
Yeah, because they just surged to the front.
Yeah.
I've never experienced anything like that since. And I've been to Uman and.
Do you think it had an effect on you? You don't have to say yes, by the way.
No, didn't. Well, maybe it did, but I didn't notice it. I was a really, really, really angry kid. A very, very angry kid.
Yeah, well, you're constantly being misunderstood and accused of things you didn't do.
Well, could I tell you a terrible story about? I've never shared this live, but
wanna hear it.
feel like
Pierce
telling you
Enrichon.
because I feel like you'd enjoy it.
I probably won't enjoy it. This is a terrible story from your childhood, and I'm going to laugh. But you want me to laugh.
You'll laugh because it's neurodivergent, and I didn't realize it till. I've never shared this publicly because I daven at the Kabach Shul, like I'm very deeply connected to Shlomo Kabach and all that. But I met him once. I only met him once, similar to the Rebbe, and I was 15. My mother had taken me to a concert. Looking at something?
No, whatever. No.
Oh my God, we're going a long time. So my mother had taken me to the concert.
Okay.
I did not know who Shlomo Kabach was.
You didn't know who he was. Okay.
Again,
you went to his concert.
I did
and
a
you didn't know who
lot
he was.
of spacing out as a kid. I'm not gonna lie. I was very involved, whatever I was involved in. But
Right.
other
There's
stuff.
a lot of things you were clueless, oblivious.
A lot. So I didn't know who
You
Shlomo
didn't
Kabach was.
know there was a problem drawing swastikas in your chumash.
Right. In fourth grade. How did I miss that?
Right. How'd you miss that?
And I'm sure I've read books about World War II at that point.
Right.
And I still for some reason didn't register.
Somehow you missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somehow I
somehow.
missed it.
Right.
So I missed a bunch of things.
Right.
Right. Which is okay. I still do. So I still do. But so I come in. Oh my gosh, my shul is gonna kill me. So I come in and he walks over to my mother. And my mother to me was very frum lady.
Mm-hmm.
She's Baal Tshuva. She was very frum. And he walks over and he was friends with her. And he walks over and gives her like a peck on the cheek. I've never seen a man touch my mother in my whole life. My parents were divorced, so like I've literally never seen a man touch my mother my whole life. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was told I'm going to Rabbi Shlomo Kabach. He's a rabbi.
Right.
So now I already think rabbis are complete hypocrites. They're the worst thing ever.
Right.
And now this rabbi walks over, kisses my mother on the cheek, and my mother says, and I'm sure other times we weren't around, it was probably nothing. But when we were around, she says, Shlomo, you can't touch me. So he goes, oh, no problem. And he walks away. And 15 minutes later, he's doing his rounds pre-concert. And he says, he comes over, gives her another kiss on the cheek. Like he forgot he saw her, like he saw a million people. And I went into a full-blown rage, using every bad word you could imagine. You effing hypocrite. You are all the same, you rabbis, you scum of the earth. This woman, you have no respect. You disgust. I went off. It's terrible. And I don't think I cursed in front of my mother very often, but I felt like I was defending her honor. And I was like disgusted by this rabbi who's doing this thing.
Yeah.
And then he just looked, the whole room kind of like got really quiet.
Why? Yeah.
It's like one of those
Awkward
scenes.
silence.
And I was just enraged. I was just like fully enraged.
Right.
And then he said, Mama Shaholi. Mama's a holy Jew. Mama's a holy soul. He said, that was it. And I'm like, screw this. And I left the concert. That was my whole encounter. But if
That's a wonderful story.
in some ways, but it's really neurodivergent.
It's neurodivergent. It's a lot of things. And I
I can't let you share that one.
I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Yeah, I feel like
Are you going to get a lot of flack for that, sharing that?
I have no idea.
You'll find out.
I also feel like if you want to hide a good story, you put it like 2 hours into the podcast.
Yeah.
You know? It helps.
Just don't make that the clip that you put on Instagram.
I'm not in control of my clips, and it's very possible it's going to be the clip.
Yeah. It is what it is, you know.
I was happy to share. That was fun to share.
You're not telling the story to say anything bad about anyone else. You're telling the story as this confession of your own obliviousness and your cluelessness.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it.
It also explains where I was in my life.
Yeah.
I just was like, I was a very frustrated, angry kid, and anyway, it's just a funny story because I met the Rebbe and met him. I didn't know anything. You gonna know how much clueless I was? I went to high school, 9th grade.
Yeah.
We're gonna stop after this. I went to high school, 9th grade, and it was a way school. And my roommate started saying all these like derogatory things about Ashkenaz.
Okay.
Oh, you Ashkenaz this, J-dub, you know, he's using all these words,
Right.
whatever.
And you didn't know what it was.
So a day in, I'm just letting him go because I have no idea what's happening here.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about something. I said, listen, it's been a day. Could you tell me what Ashkenaz is?
Right.
And he's like, well, Jews who are Ashkenaz and Jews that are Sfarad. And I'm like, so what are you? He's like, oh, I'm Sfarad and you're Ashkenaz. And I'm like, so you're not Jewish? And he's like, no, I'm a Sephardi Jew. And I was like, okay, so tell me some bad things about Sephardi Jews that I can make fun back.
At least we could have
Go back and forth. I never
reciprocity.
heard it.
Yeah.
Now, I tell that story about how spaced out I was because my entire childhood, I went to class with Sephardi Jews. And I was an Ashkenaz Jew.
Right.
I'm a Yeki.
You would think that would have come up.
And
maybe it did come up.
It came up probably 100 times. It never occurred to me that I was Ashkenaz. What I'm saying is that all your talks about neurodivergent is like putting everything into place in my life that I didn't really think about before.
But what I want to point out is that when your brain is wired differently, you know, like Eric Adams, New York City mayor, was, I told you, he came to the SoulWords house and we filmed the podcast, and he's dyslexic and he was diagnosed later in life. So he had a terrible time in school. So I said to him, you know, I have a friend, Tamir Goodman, who they call the Jewish Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a very cool guy. Anyways, Tamir is dyslexic, and he said when he would look at the blackboard in school, the letters and numbers would just swim around. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. But he would be on the basketball court. He would see exactly what play to make. And he realizes the same brain that was deficient in this area was like seeing things that others didn't see in another area. So I said to Eric Adams, you know, if you're dyslexic, which is a type of being neurodivergent, I said, if there's stuff that your brain doesn't get, but what are the things that your brain does get that other people don't get? He gave an interesting answer. He said that a lot of times as a politician, they'll give him like words, like give him a speech to say, and he'll walk into the room and he'll feel just a sixth sense. The energy is off, and he'll feel like, no, that's not what I'm supposed to say. And he'll just wing it based on his feel of the energy, which is a very neurodivergent thing, JFYI. At any rate, so I would say to you, your obliviousness, your lack of ability to pick up on stuff that's so obvious. I would like to ask you, what do you see that other people, that most people don't even notice? And in fact, you pointed out that it's right there. And they're like, what? What's right there?
Yeah.
What's that thing? A thing.
Oh, there's so many things.
One
But
thing.
one thing is if somebody comes to me and tells me this situation, like with a child or an adult or whatever, they could tell me about 1 minute or 2 minutes of the situation. I will tell you exactly everything about their parenting, their parents, and what they're like. And it
all you
seems
need.
completely obvious to me.
Yep.
everything about their parents, everything about what they're dealing with. And sometimes I'll do it to save time because usually I'll just
Right.
like,
And by
I'll
the way,
wait.
that's very impolite.
It's very impolite.
You're cutting me off. You're not listening. You're not letting me talk. I want to talk. And you're making all these assumptions. And
No, I'll have to wait.
99% of the time, you're right. Aren't you?
No, it happens is once in a while.
It's called pattern recognition.
Right. Oh, it's complete.
You need one cell to get the DNA, and you could extrapolate the whole structure
Yeah.
in a minute, right? Minute. Yeah.
I don't even know if it needs a minute. I'm just saying a minute to be nice.
To be generous, yeah.
No, but most of the time I'll sit around and I'll listen longer.
Right.
Because it's just not nice to
Right.
say.
But it's all stuff that you already figured out in the
I'm
first
like,
minute.
I already. No, it's.
Yep.
Actually, the other day in a staff meeting, we have a rabbi that works with us, Rabbi Berger, and he came in and he told me about his situation. And we were in a rush. Like I was trying to get things done in the staff meeting. And he was like, so I just said, well, if you want to fix this, you have to tell his mother to do this and his father this. And then they got to stop that. And I like spelled out the whole situation. And he's like, you know the case? I'm like, no, I have no idea who the person is. You just told me the case. So I'm telling you what to do. They were like, so I only do it, but that happens with all people's stuff. People tell me things, and it's like in 1 second, everything is just. So I guess that's it. I get all the details.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm ignoring details.
Right.
Just get them like in a flash. Or
And
something.
sometimes people are like, no, but hold on. Let me tell you the whole thing. I need at least an hour to tell you the whole thing.
Right. It's complicated.
Right. It's very complicated. I need an hour to tell you this. And I'm relating to this because it's the exact same thing for me. And I'll tell people, it's like, if you feel that you need to talk for an hour in order to feel heard, like if that's what I have to do to prove that I'm listening, I'll do it. But just so you know, I don't really need an hour. I don't need an hour. And I'll also like overestimate it. I'll say like, I can do it in 10 minutes.
Right.
The reality is it doesn't.
I was always jealous of the radio shows that did like the therapy on the radio.
Chick-chock.
And it's just like the person said, well, this is going to, listen, you need to deal with your father in this situation.
Right.
And then I always, my hilarity is that I think about the situation like, does anybody ever make change after that? Like, it doesn't really work. Like, I have to figure out a way to take the information I have and figure out how to guide this person to make some change in their life.
Yeah, but you already told me that the real path to change is pumping them full of love.
Yeah.
And really, you could have all the insight in the world, but it's like you could, the proportion here, you could spend 100 hours making someone feel loved enough that they're finally ready to hear you when you'd give them that 1 minute of insight. So like the proportion is 100 hours of love, 1 minute of insight. By the way, I'm saying those numbers like randomly, but I think that's just about right. About that proportion. Yeah.
I actually asked therapists, like, what do you think is the best predictor of somebody doing well in like when they're struggling?
Yeah.
And a lot of therapists said like deep understanding themselves, intuition about themselves, like really understanding, getting to the kishkas of their issues. And I have found none of that to be true.
Right.
I found we could get down to the bottom of it.
Right.
And the only predictor I've seen, I used to have this thing that when people would come in with their kids, I started in my brain calculating how much, like what I think the prognosis is for this
How
kid.
likely is there going to be a success story here? Yeah.
And I realized that there was a pattern, and it was always that these parents love the kid. It was always this one's got a good support network. The people without the support network, they failed over and over and over again. And the people who walked in, no matter how bad the problem was, I would even say to parents, like, kids are going to be all right.
And by the way, that's the theory about therapy as well. Carl Rogers, and here again, this is my being a dilettante and dabbling. And like I said, I know a lot about, I know a little bit about a lot.
Right.
Okay. Carl Rogers, who one of the fathers of American psychology, so he had a theory. He used to speak about unconditional positive regard, that the therapist has unconditional positive regard for the patient. And he said that basically the modality of therapy is irrelevant. The main thing is unconditional positive regard of the therapist toward the patient.
Right.
So why is that so
humanistic.
powerful? Because the reality is that's second best. First best is always the family, the biological family. That's first best.
Right.
And when we can't get that, okay, so then a professional has to come in and give you unconditional positive regard. But I always tell parents, like, you want to go hire someone. But the reality is the success of that expert is going to be the love they give to your kid. You could save your money. You love your kid.
Right.
You love him. And in fact, it'll be more powerful.
Well, Avi Fisher has this thing, like, take him to the Bahamas, like you take him on a trip. And they're like, wow, so much money. I'm like, you know how much rehab costs?
Yeah, exactly.
Rehab and then therapies and
right.
Go on the trip. You go spend some time with your kid. Like, be there for your kid. Okay, let me ask you a final question because you told me before.
You didn't ask me, but the question you could have asked, which is, why did you do the 3-hour rant on Instagram?
Could have asked it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how many whys I get.
You can have as many.
So many whys?
Yeah, whys. Yeah.
All right. Why did you do the 3-hour rant on Instagram?
Because I spend my entire life masking to some degree. And people say the word masking and they think, oh, you're deceiving people. I'm not deceiving anyone. I'm trying not to hurt you, right? I spend my entire life, in Kabbalah, it's called tzimtzum. Hashem has to hide himself so a world can exist, okay? So we as people, we practice some degree of self-restraint or self-containment to leave space for others. It's only polite, right? And I spend my entire life adapting myself, muting, dimming myself so that other people will be able to tolerate me.
An incredibly sad thing to say.
It's my reality.
Okay.
The Instagram lives, because it's like very unprofessional, it's just like I let myself just be. Basically, I'm speaking the way that I think. That's what you were enjoying. The stream of consciousness, like, oh, is he in my head?
No, I was jealous the same way you're jealous of the carpenter who gets to build the deck. I was jealous of you being able to feel abandoned. You were just like, okay, I'm opening and taking the mask down. And it was out there. I always say, I don't know, I'm curious, one of my biggest fantasies when I watch this in a movie is when somebody wrecks a room, throws their cell phone against the wall.
They have rage rooms.
I know, but I don't actually want to do it. But the idea of like, oh, you could just let people know exactly who you are right now, and everybody still is all right with you.
Yeah.
That's like my fantasy. Yeah. So it's not really that I want to freak out. I don't want to be a rager. It's not who I want to be. But I want you to know how I'm feeling and still not reject me. Like, you'll be all right. And I'll be all right. And maybe you'll love me a little more at the end of it. So when you were doing that, to me, that was like, it felt like a rage room. I don't want the rage room. Right. I want that.
It's the principle of the rage. It's not rage. It's the
rage.
Idea of
this is me.
This is me being unfiltered, right? And having that be okay, or even more than okay, having it be, oh, we appreciate that.
Well, I fell in love with you right over again.
So that is very gratifying for me.
Yeah.
I do it because that's just me. And if someone else connects with it, that's a bonus. And that is the opposite feeling from the feeling of somebody liking me for something that I'm not. Like if I put on a good show and they say, oh, you're awesome. Yeah, but I did a show. So you're not liking me, you're liking the show that I put on. But if you're saying you dafka liked the 3-hour bizarre.
It's my favorite thing you've ever done.
Okay. So
that's what I felt.
That means you like the real me.
Yeah.
A lot of people like
you were telling that parent, like, don't watch that.
I told him don't watch it because I knew, by the way, it would weird him out.
Right.
It would weird him out. Like,
yeah.
But if you like that, that means you like the real me, the authentic me.
Yeah.
The unfiltered, the most authentic version.
There's so many times where people say to me, like, if I allowed myself to come out, like, they're all going to reject me.
So last night, I do a Thursday night call-in show on YouTube. People call in. I'm always like amazed by like the sincerity of the people that Like they have real questions. And I'm a goofball. And I'm more so, by the way, this is a new thing that I kind of am a little bit less filtered. And I'm like, I'm in awe that these people trust me to like talk to them about their serious issues when I'm like being a weirdo. Right. But I guess they can separate. Like, yeah, he's a weirdo, but he also cares, and he's going to try to steer us in the right direction. So I had this call, and what was it? Why am I saying this? Oh, so one of the themes last night on the call-in show, 2 different callers. One was a woman feeling intense pressure to be a balabosta who makes 20 gourmet salads, and she said she's neurodivergent and it's killing her. She just can't live up to that. And meanwhile, she's this loving, attentive mother who makes her children feel listened to. And I'm like, you're awesome. Like, your kids feel listened to. Like, that's so much more important than whether you make the broccoli cashew salad. Right. And okay. And then
that salad is good.
Yeah. But you could order it out. You could order takeout. And then there was another guy, a 28-year-old dyslexic younger man in business who basically can't read. He says, I can't read Lashon Kodesh. I can't learn. I can't really daven. He says, I love Hashem and I want to have a relationship with Hashem, but like, and it's a great source of shame that, I'm a Jewish man. I don't know how to learn. I don't know how to read, right? So with both of them, I was telling them, like, it's not enough that I should tell you, stop hating yourself. That goes without saying. No. Lean into who you are and be open about it. Because there are people who are suffering right now because they are being choked by the pressure to conform to certain societal expectations, which are not halacha, not even minhag. It's not an actual requirement of Torah. It's totally just cultural stuff, and they're being choked with those expectations. And if somebody can stand up and say, I'm the neurodivergent mother who would rather sit on the floor and play with my kids than make the gourmet pistachio salmon, or I'm the 28 younger man who loves Hashem, but I can't daven, I can't read, right? The more that we have people who are just not afraid, be yourself. And I'm going to say something, I don't know if I should say it, but I'm going to say it. One of the beautiful things about the Frum community is the really strong social support system. The flip side of that is there are intense expectations of conformity, and it's killing people. It's killing people. When we speak about trauma, it's not just the sexual abuse which happens, which 10 years ago people didn't even admit exists. Like, thank God we admit that exists, right? And it's getting better. Okay, but that's not the only trauma. There's the slow death by 1,000 paper cuts, the complex, CPTSD, they call it. The person who's just dying inside because he's never able to be his authentic self. And he's living in dread. If I will ever be for a moment, if I let the mask slip and I'll be my authentic self for a moment, I will be cast out from this community. And people are dying from it. So, I think one of the big campaigns that I'm on, I think you're on it too. I sense that you share this.
I'm on it.
Is that we have to promote the idea of authenticity, not for the sake of authenticity, but do you think Hashem made everybody different so that we all just become homogenized? It's not why he made us different. And we have to create the safety. It's I love the Frum community. There's so many amazing advantages that we get from being part of it's such a supportive community. Like the resources and the connectedness, it's amazing. But the price of admission is a certain level of conformity that is killing people. And if we could just let people breathe and still support each other, then we'd have the best of both worlds. That's Mashiach. That would be Mashiach.
I love it. One of the things I love when I'm listening to podcasts is when somebody who everybody respects so much shares their authentic self on some level. They, I mean, you've done it today, but I'm saying it's like, it gives us permission.
Yeah.
And I find it so wild that people don't read the Torah. Like every single one of the avos, like we know about the stuff they had difficulty with. What made them different? What made them unique? We know about it because it tells it to us. And it's not always flattering. But we're like, no, they're saints. We'll make everybody saints. So that's my thing, is that like, if you realize that being authentic is sainthood, that's what it is. Even if it doesn't look the same as you, every one of anybody who's made any change in the Jewish people, probably in any people, if you look at their past, it doesn't look good. Every single one. And you look at even their personality, it doesn't look so good. I mean, we talk about like, David HaMelech having an angry personality, or like even their personality. I'm not even talking about the fact that they thought he was a mamzer, so like all of that. That's one of the things I really love. And I actually inspires me to like be a little bit more vulnerable on the podcast to say, listen, you could do wonderful things, and you could also be very different than everybody else. I'm not even gonna say flawed, but different. Yeah, different. And different is good.
Different is good.
Anyway, I think you answered my last question, which I usually ask, like, if you have a rooftop, what's your rooftop yell to the world?
Yeah, I think I answered that.
I think you answered it.
Let's embrace people's authenticity. Not only should we stop shaming people for being unique, but let's celebrate it. And, I want to wrap up here, but I'll just say something. I don't want to get too specific. There was a particular incident that happened where people, it was in the Frum community, where they felt that certain people were being sort of like exhibitionistic, attention-seeking, like tell-all, but in a lascivious way of like, hey, let me tell you about my scandal, right? And I commented, not publicly, by the way, although I'm sharing it now on a podcast, but privately I said, listen, when you repress people's self-expression so much, don't be surprised when it comes out in awkward ways. Like if you allow people a channel for self-expression, then they don't have to do it in a weird way. So I would encourage anyone who's listening to this, be yourself as Hashem made you. Now that doesn't mean you don't work on yourself and try to be better. Obviously, we were created to work on ourselves and to be better. But being better doesn't mean be someone else. Being better means be the best version of yourself that you can be right now.
And that might look really weird.
Yeah. And it's okay.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for
pleasure.
coming on. This was, I only feel bad for this guy, but he's been here for hours. He's bored. But thank you so much. That was one of the most wonderful conversations I've ever had. About podcasts.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live anew.